Right. Let us start discussing polity related questions in this mock test number 2. The first question is about euthanasia. So the statement 1 says, it is ninth question. Statement 1 says active and passive euthanasia has been legal in India. So this is wrong. Active euthanasia is not legal, whereas passive euthanasia is allowed in some limited circumstances. For example, in 2011, this case, Aruna Shanbag case, the court allowed passive euthanasia in some limited circumstances. In 2018, in the common cause case, the court judgment paved for execution of living will. Living will can be executed by a patient who is terminally ill. So this living will gives right to the patient to say no to the medical treatment and die. So this judgment says that right to life includes right to life with dignity under Article 21, and this is common cause case. But however, this living will can be validated, can be executed only if it is validated by the judicial magistrate. In 2023 Supreme Court judgment, the judgment says we wanted to ease the procedure for this passive euthanasia. There is no requirement of judicial magistrate to validate this living will. Rather, it can be validated even by a notary. Does not require the validation by the judicial magistrate. So this is wrong. Passive, active euthanasia both are allowed in some Scandinavian countries like Netherlands, right? But not in case of India, where you allow only passive euthanasia for limited circumstances. Supreme Court of India has held in some judgment that right to die with dignity is a fundamental right. That is what is common cause case. So the statement 1 is wrong, statement 2 is right. 1 is incorrect, 2 is correct. Answer is D. Now go to the next question. Sexual harassment of women at the Workplace Act, POSH Act 2013. Pursuant to the report of Justice Verma Committee, Justice Verma Committee has given recommendation on amendment to criminal laws. And the amendment or the recommendation says we should give stringent punishment for those who are harassing women. Sexual harassment should result in stringent punishment for the perpetrator of the crime. But even before this recommendation came and got tabled, this act was enacted. So this act was enacted first, then recommendation came next. Therefore, recommendation is not the reason for enactment. So the statement is wrong. Act defines what constitutes sexual harassment. Yes, there is one section 2N which defines what constitutes sexual harassment. For example, verbal, non-verbal communication with sexual content, right? Then sexual advancement, unfavorable sexual advancement, all these amount for sexual harassment according to section 2N of the act. Unorganized sector is there, it is not left out, it is included. You see section 2P. Unorganized sector means where less than 10 women are working. When less than 10 women, up to 9 women, if they are working in a sector, it is called as unorganized. Less than 10 women, unorganized sector, and this is included in the act. If you read section 7 of the act, it provides for redressal of the grievances. Redressal of the grievances mentioned. So this is wrong. It is including unorganized sector, right? The internal complaint committee, yes, if you refer section 11 of the act, it speaks about the internal complaint committee having the power of a civil court, right? So section 11 clause 3 gives power of the civil court to the internal complaint committee, and therefore this is a right statement. Two statements are right statements, 2 and 4 are right, 1 and 3 are wrong. So only 2, B is the right answer for this question. Go to the next question. Which of the following constitutional amendments curtailed the legislative power of the state? So 24th Amendment Act in 1971, what it did? It was to cancel, to curtail, to abrogate the Golaknath case judgment of 1967, which says Parliament doesn't have any power to amend the constitution under Article 368. However, this amendment is to cancel this judgment and says that Parliament is having power to amend the constitution under Article 368. And this 24th Amendment Act was validated by the case Savananda Bharati case judgment in 1973. So definitely this is not the answer. Now come to 42nd Amendment Act. You have 5 subjects which were transferred from the state list to the concurrent list. Definitely any law which is made under concurrent list, if it is a parliamentary law clashing with the state law on the item present in the concurrent list, the parliamentary law will prevail. So this is definitely a curtailment to the power of the state legislature. Okay. For example, the administration of justice, then what? Wildlife, forest, education, then weights and measures. These are 5 subjects which were transferred from the state list to concurrent list. And this is definitely the curtailment of the power of the state legislature. 44th Amendment Act. For example, Article 352 cannot be misused. You can't misuse this Article 352. Okay. Then come to 76th Amendment Act. There was a Reservation Act, Tamil Nadu Reservation Act, which was made in 1994, which provides for 69% reservation. Actually, Mandal Commission's judgment says it cannot be, reservation cannot be more than 50% of reservation. But against Mandal Commission judgment, this act was made by the Tamil Nadu legislature, Tamil Nadu Reservation Act, and this was placed under the 9th schedule by this constitutional amendment. So this amendment, 76th Amendment, is placing the Tamil Nadu Reservation Act under the 9th schedule, which cannot be questioned by the court. Okay, but this was, undone by I.R. Coelho case. What is I.R. Coelho case? I.R. Coelho case in 2007, what it says? It says that any law which was kept under 9th schedule cannot have judicial immunity. Blanket judicial immunity is not available. Those laws which were kept under 9th schedule before the judgment of Kesavananda Bharati case, that is on April 24, 1973. These laws will not be touched by judiciary, but those laws which were kept on or after this cutoff date of April 24, 1973 can be subjected to judicial review. So this is a very important case which was asked once in the main examination also. I.R. Coelho case, no blanket judicial immunity for the law kept under 9th schedule. That is what is the judgment of I.R. Coelho versus State of Tamil Nadu case 2007. So the answer is what? This is the answer. B is the right answer for 11th question. Now go to 15th question. 15th question says, right, it is about statutory function of the Bar Council. You have Advocates Act 1961. Okay, you have this Act 1961. Section 7 of the Act provides for all the functions. Lay down the standards, yes. Promote legal education, organize legal aid, recognize and on reciprocal basis the foreign qualification law obtained outside India, yes. All are right answers according to Section 7 of the Advocates Act 1961. 15th question is over. Now go to this 47th question. Read Article 111. What it says? Assent to money bill. What is the question? Limitation on the power of the president. Yes, there is a limitation because no suspensive veto for the president. No suspensive veto means restrictions, limitations on the power. Yes. Assent to the constitutional amendment bill. Yes. It is mandatory that he has to give assent to the Constitution Amendment Bill. Okay, so Article 368 is clearly telling that he has to give assent. So 24th Amendment Act amended Article 368, which says the President of India must assent the bill, which is a Constitution Amendment Bill. So this is also limitation. State bills reserved by the governor under Article 201. Just see this. From the governor, it goes to the president. Now, what are the actions available? So he can send the bill. He can say yes, assent the bill. He can say no. He can say no. He can veto the bill. And he can send it for reconsideration. Reconsidered bill will again come to the president, where he is not having any obligation to assent the bill. So here he is having more discretion. He is having more discretion. Okay. So when the bill comes from the governor to the president under Article 201, he has three options. One, yes, say yes, assent, put signature. Say no, don't assent. And third, reconsider. So the bill will have to go to state legislature, and in the state legislature they are again passing the bill. It comes to the president. In this case, there is no need for the president to assent the bill, so there is no obligatory binding nature of the second time bill passed by the state legislature. State legislature, even if it is passing second time, it goes to the president. He may say no, but this is not the case with respect to parliamentary bill. In parliamentary bill case, if it is coming to the president after reconsideration, he must have to give assent. But state bill coming to the president after reconsideration, the president need not give assent. So he has more discretionary power. He has less discretionary power. He has less discretionary power. So answer is only 2. Law of the land should be properly notified so that citizens know it. Law should be in general form so that uniformly it is applicable. No law should be applicable with retrospective effect. And power of governance should be exercised strictly in accordance with law. So there is a concept called as rule of law. Rule of law includes all. Rule of law means you can't make a law which is retrospective in nature, because retrospective nature, if you give to the law, you make the law today and give it from a prior date effect. You give law today and make it applicable to the previous date, from the previous date. So it is having some sort of motivation, inner motivation is there. Therefore, no law can be retrospective. This is the general concept of rule of law. No law can be retrospective. But you have in the Constitution under Article 20, criminal law only cannot be retrospective. But in general, according to the concept of rule of law, no law should be retrospective. Okay. Now, it should be general, it should be known to people, and it should be uniformly applied, it should be stringent, everything is there. All the 4. Okay. According to political author O.P. Gauba, rule of law includes all the 4. House has the power to suspend a member, but not beyond 59 days. What I told, you should add because. The Constitution says that if a member of the House is absent without permission for 60 days. Okay. Now, this is a case which came before the Supreme Court. Article 190, Clause 4. It says that if you are continuously absent, you are member of the legislature, you are continuously absent for 60 days without the permission, you will be disqualified. Okay. But the Supreme Court in 2022 says, continuously if a person is absent, he ceases to be he will be disqualified as MP or MLA. So if you suspend him more than 59 days, if you suspend him for 60 days, what happens? He becomes disqualified or not? So this is a constitutional void. right? It is a constitutional void that the court has told we have to see Article 190, which says that if MLA is absent for 60 days continuously without permission, he will be disqualified. Right? If you suspend the person for 60 days, he cannot come to the house, so he will be disqualified. So this is a constitutional confusion. To clear the constitutional confusion, the court clearly told that don't suspend the legislator for more than 59 days. If you suspend the legislator for more than 59 days, suppose you suspend the legislator for 60 days, he cannot come to the house. If he doesn't come to the house without prior permission, if he doesn't come to the house without permission, then what happens? His MLA post will go. That is why the court says that don't suspend the MP or don't suspend the MLA beyond 59 days, otherwise it will be leading to disqualification. Suspension should not lead to disqualification. Okay, because you have certain grounds of disqualification. Right? So read the statement 1, use because, then read the statement 2. House has power to suspend a member not beyond 15 days because if he is absent for 60 days, he will be disqualified, his seat will become vacant. Okay. Now read statement 2 and add therefore. Read statement 2 and add therefore. The constitution says that if a member is absent for 60 days, seat becomes vacant. Therefore, don't suspend him for more than 59 days. So perfectly it explains. This judgment came in 2022. Go to the next question. Leader of opposition. Till 1969, there was no LOP, and from 1969 onwards, LOP came. So it was Mavalankar rule. Mavalankar, who was the first speaker, he made a rule. The rule is 10% rule. If a party has 10% of MP in the house, then that leader of the party will become the leader of opposition. Okay, so 10% rule is there only in the speaker's rule. But when it comes to 1977 Act, it says LOP will be the post given to the party having it is the largest opposition party. Largest opposition party. 10% rule is only made by the first speaker. But the law clearly says that it should be what? The post should be given to a party which has the greatest numerical strength. Opposition party having greatest numerical strength, they will get the LOP post according to the law. Now, 2014-2019, in both the Lok Sabha, LOP post was not recognized by the speaker because he followed what? 10% rule. No opposition party is having 10% of the total MPs. So which means you should have 55 MPs to have LOP post. But since no party is having 55 MPs, in 2014 and 2000, no opposition party is having 55 MPs. In 2014 as well as 2019, the speaker did not recognize the speaker did not give LOP recognition to the opposition party. Okay, but the problem is what? Law says not 10%, greatest numerical strength. There is an opposition party, say Congress, which has only 53 MPs. But to have LOP, you should have 55. They are falling short of 3 seats or 2 seats. So they didn't give. Speaker did not give. He used this 10% rule. But going by law, Congress party should get the LOP post because it is the opposition party having the greatest numerical strength. In the opposite camp, Congress party has the more number of seats than the other opposition parties. Okay. So law versus rule made by speaker, which will prevail, which is having more force. Law is having more force because law is permanent. 1977 law is permanent. Speaker's rule is only speaker's rule, it is not a law. So, what the jurists are saying is that the 2014 and 2019 and 2014, the government deliberately do not want to give LOP post to Congress party, which is why they are using 10% rule, not the law. So, actually speaking, law should prevail over the rule, but however, the government did not want that. That is what is the point of opposition made by some of the jurists or some of the academia. Okay. The leader of opposition is paid salary equal to that of cabinet minister. Yes, the post of leader of opposition Lok Sabha has been lying vacant since 2014. Yes. But the act says what? 1/10 is not act. Act says greatest numerical strength. 1/10 is Maulanka rule. So the first statement is wrong. Therefore, answer is only 2. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. It only regulates the foreigners' contribution. Okay. In 2018, it was amended, which provided that the foreigners can contribute fund to the political party. It is not prohibiting foreign companies can fund the political party according to the amendment made in 2018 to the FCRA, Foreign Currency Regulation Act. Companies cannot donate more than 7.5%. See, there is one Companies Act 2003. There is one section 182, which provides for 7.5%. Okay, 7.5% should be the funding cap. Maximum a company can give 7.5% of their annual net profit to the political party. But what happened? This was amended, and this amendment allowed for unlimited fund from the company. Unlimited funding can be made because of the amendment done to the section by the government. But this was cancelled by the Supreme Court in February 2024 with respect to the electoral bond case. So, which means the cap is now present. Cannot donate more than, as of now, according to Supreme Court judgment, yes, they cannot. Because the amendment made to the Act section 182 by the government allowed unlimited fund, but the unlimited fund amendment was cancelled by the Supreme Court in February 2024. So therefore, they cannot donate. This ceiling, this cap of funding is now existing due to the Supreme Court judgment. So yes, there is no cap on the expenditure. Yes, there is no cap on the expenditure incurred by the political party during the election. That is why many misuses are happening. So 1 is wrong, 2 is right, 3 is right, only 2. Preventive detention, conservation, regulation of sale of acid, Poisonous Act. Sedition is meaning what? Disaffection, causing disaffection against the government. That is what is sedition, which is covered under section 124A of IPC. So this Unlawful Activity Act is preventing actions which are against the sovereignty and integrity of India. So the scope is protecting sovereignty and integrity of India, but the scope of Sedition Act is causing disaffection against the government. So this is not correctly matched. 2 are correctly matched, only 2. Okay, so 2 are correctly matched. Next question is, state can treat unequal differentially with respect to the objective of creating a level playing field in the social, economic, political spheres because among equal, the law should be equal and equally administered. Yes. So what the statement 1 says, unequal treatment is given because equal should be treated equals, unequal should not be treated equals. Likes should be treated alike. Unlikes should not be treated alikes. So, first statement and second statement are highly connected to each other. They are correct. Statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. You are treating people differently because likes only can be treated alikes, unlikes cannot be treated alikes. Special session is nowhere mentioned in the constitution. Yes, when you read article 352, there is a special sitting mentioned, but there is nothing called special session, right? The first midnight special session of the parliament was called in 2007. First midnight session, no. August 15, 1947. Transfer of power, midnight session. Okay. Then 1992, 50th anniversary of Quit India movement. Midnight session. GST, midnight session. So the question is first. First is not there. First, transfer of power, and that marks the independence of India on August 15, 1947. It is a midnight sitting only. Okay. So this is wrong, this is right. Answer is one only. Amicus curiae means friends of the court. They are normally advocates. Suppose a person is not able to represent himself in the court, then the court will appoint a lawyer for that person. So that lawyer is called as amicus curiae. He must be appointed for any unrepresented accused person. Yes. Must to appoint amicus curiae if it is a criminal action, and if it is civil case. Criminal case must have to appoint amicus curiae. Amicus curiae should be appointed mandatorily if it is a criminal case. In a civil case, it is the discretion of the court to appoint the amicus curiae. It is the discretion of the court. But if the sentence is death or life imprisonment, then you should appoint amicus curiae who is a senior advocate. Not in all cases senior advocate, only if the case is involving death penalty or life imprisonment, he has to be a senior advocate. Otherwise, there is no such thing. So, has to be a senior advocate is a very general statement which cannot be correct, because only in case of death penalty and life imprisonment, amicus curiae should be senior advocate. In other cases, he need not be a senior advocate. So, this is wrong. Okay. So, 1 is right, 2 is right, 2 statements are right. A bill altering the boundary. Yes, Article 3 requires President's recommendation. When money bill is presented to the President, it is obligatory for giving assent. No. He may give assent. He may withhold assent. But he cannot use which veto? Suspensive veto. He cannot ask for reconsideration. So he can withhold. It is not mandatory that he has to sign. So this is wrong. Parliament passes bill in the state list and it becomes law only if it half of the state legislature. When half of the state legislature ratification comes, only if the federal provisions are altered, then the ratification by state legislatures will come. However, in many cases like Article 249, Article 250, Article 252, 253, the Parliament is making law on state list which need not be assented by, which need not be approved by the state legislature. So this is wrong. This is wrong. Answer is one only. When it comes to the free legal aid, irrespective of income, SC, ST, women, children, right? Transgenders and senior citizens, there is an income cap. So 1, 2, 3, only 3. Opinion tendered by Election Commission in a question of disqualifications binding, yes. Read Article 103. Article 103, President makes final decision related to disqualification. Okay. 103(2) says he should get the approval or opinion of Election Commission of India, whose opinion is binding on the President. So this is the right statement. Supreme Court of India, the arbitrator of disqualification on the ground of defection. No. Who? Speaker in case of Lok Sabha and chairperson in case of Rajya Sabha. They are the final arbiter of the disqualification on the grounds of defection. This is wrong, this is right. So one only. The ratio of the number of parliamentary seats to the population is not uniform throughout India. Yes, because delimitation commission adopt the principle of digressive proportionality, means small territorial units will have more seats and bigger territorial units will have small seats. So it is ulta, right? So small subdivisions will have more seats. Larger subdivisions will have less seats if you go by this principle. Against this principle only, delimitation commission is demarcating the territory. So according to delimitation commission, all territorial constituencies should have equal number of voters in all constituencies. All constituencies should have equal number of voters. There should not be unequal number of voters. For example, in Delhi constituency, Chandni Chowk, you have say 10 lakh people, voters, but outer Delhi you have 50 lakh people. Against this only, delimitation commission is working. They wanted to ensure that all constituencies have same number of voters. If you go by digressive proportionality, small constituencies will have more voters or more seats will be given to small constituencies and less seats will be given to large constituencies. Small divisions will have more seats, large subdivisions will have less seats, if you follow this. Against this only, delimitation commission is working to ensure that all seats or all constituencies have equal number of voters. Okay, so this is wrong. Delimitation commission is working against this principle. One is right, two is wrong. So one is right, two is wrong. Answer is C. One is right, two is wrong. Answer is C. Now come to this question. Person who is a member of defense services. If you read Article 310, yes. Atomic energy, 1954 through presidential order, it was created. Governor of the state cannot be regarded as an employee of the government of India. Yes. In a Supreme Court judgment called as Hargobind Pant judgment. Hargobind Pant case. 1979. The court says governor is not an employee of government of India, though the president appoints the governor, he is not the employee of the government of India. So this is right. This is right. This is right. All the three are correct statements for this question. With this, polity questions in the mock test number 2 is over. Okay. So if you listen to the test discussion, you may see some sort of new terms. Take for example, digressive proportionality, which most of you would not have heard. And similarly, we have given some sort of confusing statements. Okay, here Supreme Court of India, normally you read like the Supreme Court of India is giving final judgment like that, final arbiter. So Supreme Court, you may come to a conclusion, yes, but this is not right. So don't try to mechanically read the statement, try to understand what is given in the statement. Read minimum 3 times the statement, whether it is easy statement or difficult statement. Read more number of times. Minimum 3 times you read even the statement which you know fully. What happens sometimes is we read very fastly and we commit a mistake. So be careful when you read the statement, try to understand the meaning of the word with respect to the statement. So don't try to take the word out of the question and try to import that meaning to that statement. Okay, every statement is having some words, and these words are given meaning based on the context of the statement. So try to understand the context. Don't try to mechanically apply what you have studied in the books. Try to see the question based on the context of the question. So mechanical verbatim will not guide your answers. A foundational knowledge, a very thorough knowledge of the polity related concepts are very much fundamental for answering polity questions with ease. See you in the next discussion. Thank you. All the best.
Hi friends, welcome to today's discussion. We will start our All India mock test discussion. From the decline of Harshavardhana until the rise of Delhi Sultanate, how many of the following kingdoms were holding power in the North India? It's a very interesting question. Actually, if you take it, such kind of question is repeating in UPSC actually. You see, from the decline of Harshavardhana. So Harshavardhana era is 606 to 647 common era. From this to the rise of Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate time period is 1206 to 1526. Okay. Apo 647 to 1206. Between this time period, how many of the following kingdoms were holding power in North India? Okay. They were not asking South India. So if you pathina, the Paramars of Malwa, you see first, there are certain kingdoms were all given. You see the Chalukyas of Badami. You can go for elimination because Badami is in Karnataka, South India. Okay. Maitrakas of Vallabi. Okay. Gahadwalas of Kannauj. Pushyabhutis of Taneshwar. You see, Harsha belonged to this dynasty. So 2 also won't come. Okay, who will come? The Chahamanas, okay, Maitrikas of Vallabhi, they also won't come because they were all the one who hold power during the period of Harsha. Harsha period, they were all the contemporaries. The Chalukyas ruled in south, Maitrikas of Vallabhi, okay, Taneshwarla, Harshavardhan vandu paakumbodhu irundharu. So they were all the Paramars of Malwa, the Gahadwalas of Kannauj and Chahamanas of Ajmer. Chahamanas is nothing but the Chauhans. So answer is only 3. Okay, fine. Next. In medieval India, Kashba means market towns. Kashba means market towns. Medieval India, the newly induced Kashba or the market towns are also famous. So Kashba means market towns. And they are given freedom fighters and asking you to find out who is associated with the Indian League. Indian League was associated with Sisir Kumar Ghosh and Anand Mohan Bose. Firozshah Mohta, he didn't associate with this Indian League. Firozshah Mehta associated with another institution called Bombay Native Association. So you were Varamatar, and mostly India League background basis from Bengal. So these 2 will come. So answer is only 2. Answer is only 2. Next, to lay down standards of professional conduct and etiquette for advocates. This is another question. We will see. With reference to the history of ancient India, Varahimihir, Aryabhatta and Brahmagupta, where they were all astronomers and also mathematicians. So they were all not physicians. They were all astronomers and mathematicians. Next, which of the following statements correctly represents the teachings of Shankaracharya? This was already given explanation. Shankaracharya, born in Kerala, Kalladi, the proponent of Advaitam. Okay, this Shankaracharya says there is only God. He supports for monotheism. And he says that the God, if you want to reach God, we are all came from God. We are all identical with the God. We came from God, we will go to the God. This is our solrar actually. So he said that the soul is identical to the God. Okay. Okay. With reference to the proposals of August offer of 1940, consider the following statements. It assured that any future constitution, so Lord Linlithgow in the year of 1939, without communicating to any of the Indian leaders, he said that the Indians are in the support of World War II on the side of British. So the Indians will support for British war efforts. Okay. But Indians are not seriously, you take Congress, they were not seriously supporting for British war efforts. So in the year of 1940, when the war getting intensified in Europe, not only in Europe and also in Asia, so the British needs the support of Indians. So what they said, Lord Linlithgow, he come with an offer in the month of August, that is called August offer. Okay, so many in India, if you take the political history of India, many words associated with August declaration, August Kranti, August independence, August offer. So many years, even if you take this, after this partition of Bengal, the Swadeshi movement was, came into forefront during the month of August. So August is so special to India actually. So here in the August offer, they said that it assured that any future constitution would only be adopted with the consent of the minorities. Yes. It vowed to create a war advisory council with the participation of Indians. Yes, both has to come. So, what he says, after World War II, dominion status will be given. Actually, in August offer, they said dominion status will be given. They didn't say that independence will be given. அதாவது இந்தியாவுக்கு இண்டிபெண்டன்ஸ் வரும்லாம் சொல்லல ஆகஸ்ட் ஆஃபர்ல, டொமினியன் ஸ்டேட்டஸ் தான் வருதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்லுவாங்க. And they said that after the war, that is World War II, it assured that any future constitution would only be adopted with the consent of the minorities, and it vowed to create a war advisory council with the participation of the Indians. So answer is both 1 and 2. Seriya? Fine. Next. So here they have given which of the following Neolithic sites. You see, Megar, Guftral, okay, Chirand and Burzahum, all are Neolithic sites. But what they have asked particular, domestic dogs were buried along with their masters in their graves. Also known for the weapons made of polished stone tools. So there was a place called Jammu and Kashmir. There was a place called Burzahum in Jammu and Kashmir, where, understand, this is a Neolithic site where the dog was buried along with the human being. Okay, so, and in this Burzahum site, okay, the dog buried along with the master. So we can come to a conclusion that the people used to bury the dogs along with their masters, and also it is famous for polished stone tools. So, with respect to the Mughal architecture, Humayun tomb was the first garden tomb in India. Yes. Nilkant temple is a Mughal architecture temple built on the orders of the Emperor Shah Jahan. Yes. Okay. Sorry, this is not. Actually, this is not Shah Jahan. Okay. Nilkant temple is a Mughal architecture built on the orders of Mughal Emperor. No, there was a place called Mandu. It was in the Malwa region. This temple was also there in the Malwa region. It is a Indo-Islamic architecture. Okay, it is a Indo-Islamic architecture. Indo-Islamic. Okay, so second statement won't come. Shah Jahan period kadayad. The city of the Fatehpur Sikri was in Uttar Pradesh, was founded as the token of gratitude to Salim Chishti. Yeah, Salim Chishti. Salim Chishti, he was a Sufi saint actually. Akbar had a special love towards Salim Chishti. It is said that Akbar prayed for Salim Chishti, especially for the well-being of his son. So when the son born to Akbar, he has named his son as Salim. So Salim is the name for Jahangir. Okay, so Jahangir, right? His original name is Salim. So this itself we can come to a conclusion that Akbar had a special, a special love for his son Salim. So answer is only 2. Answer is 2. And the next is, which of the following village was acquired by the East India Company, where they established a fortified factory and renamed it as Fort William? It is Sultanati. It is Sultanati. And next is, consider the following statement regarding Jainism. Both Svetambar and Digambar sect of Jainism did not believe in the God. Yes, Jainism did not believe in God. Jainism denies God. Okay, but Jainism thinks that, their Tirthankara is so special. When compared to the Tirthankara, they were all more than the gods. So Jainism believed that Tirthankara more than the god. According to Jainism, the ultimate goal is to attain liberation from the cycle of reincarnation. Yes. Okay. So Tilipiyum Marupirappu Varakudadu. Okay. Fine. Next. Agra founded by Sikandar Lodi, Jaunpur by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Prayagraj by Jahangir. No, Prayagraj by Akbar. Prayagraj by Akbar. Okay, only 2 pairs were all correct. Okay, next. Who among the following described Vijayanagara as a sprawling city as large as Rome with many gardens and lakes? It is Domingo Pius. He has visited Vijayanagaram. Okay, he has visited Vijayanagar during the period of Krishna Deva Raya. Okay, Krishna Deva Raya period. And the Maratha military landscapes of India, which developed between 17th to 19th century, represents an extraordinary fortification and military system envisioned by the Maratha rulers. These landscapes will be India's recent nomination for the recognition of UNESCO. In this context, which one of the following forts in Maharashtra, Maratha landscape, is considered to be the coastal fort of Maratha Empire? So it is none other than Vijayadurg Fort. Okay. So it is in the coastal fort of Maharashtra. It is Marathas after Cholas. The Marathas are so famous in expanding their military supremacy, especially naval supremacy in the western seas, that is in Arabian Ocean. Okay, that's all about this one. And they are asking you, which of the newspaper played an active role during 1857 revolt and Indigo revolt? It is Hindu Patriot. The newspaper is Hindu Patriot. And consider the non-cooperation movement. The movement had been launched with the aim of persuading the British government to grant self-governance. Yes, Swaraj Ka Ketang. Sadguru Ram Singh is the first Indian to use non-cooperation as the political weapon. Yes, of course. Okay, it is not Gandhiji, it is Sadhguru Ram Singh. People were asked to use only Indian made goods. Yes. Okay, the movement also called for the end of untouchability. Yes. Caution, creation of Tilak Swaraj Fund aimed to create, okay, constructive work for the movement. Actually, the Tilak Swaraj Fund was created by Balagangadhar Tilak. During non-cooperation movement, it was given, okay, the authority to use the Tilak Fund was given to Gandhi. So here the Tilak Swaraj Fund is coming. So answer is all 5. So answer is all 5. 94 answer is all 5. Metcalfe, Charles Metcalfe earned the respectable title Liberation of Indian Press. Yes. Metcalfe enacted the Press and Registration of Books Act 1867. No. Okay. Charles Metcalfe was the Governor General of East India Company. His time period is from 1836 to 1837. This is the time period where he was the Governor General of East India Company. But the Press and Registration of Books PRB Act came during the period of 1867. This is the time period of John Lawrence. Okay, Lawrence அப்படின்றவர் இருந்தார். Okay, so இவருடைய பீரியட்ல தான் Viceroy Lawrence பீரியட்ல தான் பாத்தீங்கன்னா this was enacted. So this is not during the period of Charles Metcalfe. So answer is statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect. Okay, fine. So that's about history discussion. We will see remaining later. All the best. Thank you.
Very good morning, everyone. Here we are in our final mock test hosted by SIVARAJAVEL IAS Academy. And I hope that the preparation is going so good, so well, and be confident, believe in yourself, believe in the hard work that you put, and my best wishes for you all. I would like to register my best wishes for all the aspirants to give the best, to give the best of the preparation in the examination. So without much ado, let's get into the discussion for the last mock test for the subjects of environment and science and technology, current affairs. Okay. Question number 1. Consider the following statement. Consider the following with reference to climate and development knowledge network. So this is actually a non-governmental organization started in the year 2010. This organization is not a funding organization. It is not something that is working closely with the government alone. Remember, it is mostly an advisory group. It is a research group which helps the government, the private sector to take collaborative decision that is climate friendly. So they conduct a research, and based on the research, they give advisories and suggestions on what is the best practice for the climate change. That is what they do. So here, it functions as a subcommittee for assisting developing countries. No, it is not under UNFCCC Secretariat. It is not a subcommittee also. It is a non-governmental organization. So wrong. Second statement, its functions are unique as they directly implement. No. They are not responsible for implementation of the projects. As I said earlier, they are advisory groups and they are also conduct researches relevant to climate change. So second statement is also wrong for this. The correct answer is neither 1 nor 2 is the answer for this question. Question number 2. Here we have much emphasis on heavy metals, but there is also some potential danger from light metal also. So this question explores that possibility. So unlike heavy metals, so when we say heavy metals or light metals, what is the distinctive criteria between the both? What differentiates heavy metals and the light metals? In fact, there is no unanimous conclusion on the difference between them. But there are few where we can take for our discussion. 1, density. Heavy metals are usually more denser, more heavier. than light metals. This is one. Second, atomic number. For example, any metal with atomic number more than 20 are called as heavy metals. For your understanding, the 20 stands for calcium. The atomic number 20 is calcium. So, which means even calcium is a heavy metal. Let me break this. Even there are common metals that you are aware of that we use it in our everyday applications like iron, copper, tin. You wouldn't believe it, even they are also heavy metals. Even iron, copper, they are also usually referred as heavy metals. So, with this idea, let's see light metals. So, what are some examples of light metals? Some examples of light metals includes aluminium. Another good example of a light metal is beryllium. Now, we will see the question. Unlike heavy metals toxicity, we know heavy metals is known for the toxicity. For example, cadmium. Cadmium is known to cause Itai disease. Mercury is known to cause Minamata disease. Arsenic is known to cause cancer. So, they are called as heavy metal toxicity. Now, does it mean that light metals do not cause? Wrong. Even aluminium is associated with the neurotoxicity, and same is true for beryllium as well. Beryllium is known also to affect nervous system and also the digestive system, more particularly liver. So, it doesn't mean that light metals do not cause, they also cause. So, therefore, this is wrong. Heavy metals can undergo biomagnification? Yes. So, biomagnification simply means an increase in concentration of a substance. Through the food chain. Through the food chain from lower level to the higher level. So, from the lower level to the higher level, when this food chain is moving up, the substance which they eat, they also tend to accumulate. That accumulation over the food chain is called as biomagnification, and let me tell you, heavy metals are exclusively well known for that. Mercury can undergo biomagnification, cadmium, arsenic. You take a heavy metal, it can undergo. So, therefore, this is correct. So, answer for this question is 2 only. Question number 3. Which of the statements given above can be the justification for the seeds not germinating quickly in evergreen rainforests? This is a fact. Normally, we have an understanding of what a rainforests are, but in reality, from a scientific perspective, they are not. We tend to think that rainforest soil are extremely rich in nutrition. No, they are not. They are not rich in nutrition. In fact, the nutritional content of a rainforest soil is poorer than grasslands. So, similarly, another myth to be broken here is seed not germinating quickly in evergreen forest. Is it true? Yes. If a seed in a rainforest falls into the soil, it doesn't grow immediately. It takes some time. They are asking what are the reasons. Why the seeds that falls onto the rainforest soil don't germinate quickly. 1. Limited availability of light on the ground. That is very true because of dense canopy of the evergreen rainforest. There is a limited availability of light at the ground level, and therefore seed cannot germinate. For example, you take a seed, you keep it in dark, it doesn't grow well, right? So, the same thing happens. So, correct. So, 1 is correct, and therefore, it has to be B or D. The next one, limited available, low humidity and moisture. The next is low humidity and moisture. Normally, when the seeds are kept in dry conditions means low humidity. Low humidity means dry conditions. So normally when a seed is dry, they cannot germinate. True. But let's see whether the evergreen rainforest ground level is known to be low in humidity. No, it is in fact high in humidity. So this is not a reason for this phenomenon of seed not germinating. Wrong. Nutrient poor soils, which I have already explained. Why? Because of abundant availability of ground level water, which in turn causes leaching of nutrients. Because the nutrients are leaching very much, the nutrients are poor. This is also the reason why seeds don't germinate quickly. So 3 is correct, 1 is correct, and therefore answer is 1 and 3. Question number 7. Sri Anna Conference. So what this Sri Anna stands for? Sri Anna in the Indian context stands for millets. In fact, because of the efforts that Indian government have taken, 2023 was declared as International Year of Millets by the United Nations General Assembly, because it is known to be drought resistant, it is known to be climate friendly, it is known to be farmer friendly as well. It is also rich in nutrients, and because of these all reasons, millet is considered to be a wonder crop in the time that we live in. So India have cognized this aspect and wanted to promote it. And because of the efforts, Indian government in 2023 was declared as International Year of Millets. In consequence of that, Indian government wanted to make a series of measures to promote it further. So to promote the millets, in 2023, Indian government conducted what is called a Sri Anna Conference. So Sri Anna Conference is related to promotion and awareness of millets. Answer is B. Question number 8. Jan Aushadhi Kendras in India is known to sell which of the type of medicines, drugs to its customers? We need to understand what is the prevailing health choices for the ailing people in India. Even though there are various traditional medicines available, most people follow allopathic medicines. And the allopathic drugs are encumbered by a phenomenon called as patents. And patented drugs are always costlier because it is backed by intellectual property rights for about 20 years. It is usually costly, and therefore accessibility is very limited. And an alternative for the patent comes in the form of generic drugs. What are generic drugs are? Generic drugs are copy versions of patent manufactured after its patent protection period is expired, which is usually 20 years. If I discover a drug now, let's say 2024, by 2044, its patent period is over. And after that, anyone can make the drug. If anyone can make the same drug, that is called as generic drug. Please remember once again, in India, the major form of diagnosis and the treatment is undertaken by allopathic form, and allopathic form follows the so-called drugs. To satisfy this, so many people, which needs to be promoted? Ayush may cater to some, but not many. And therefore, drugs, allopathic drugs. But allopathic drugs, patented drugs are costly. So it is here, Jan Aushadhi Kendras, okay? Jan Aushadhi Kendras, which is actually operated by Ministry of Fertilizers and Chemicals. It is a Kendra which is operated by Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. So they sell to the people the cheap versions of generic drugs to the ailing people. So it is related only to generic drugs. They don't have any business with branded drugs at all. No, they don't. It is not with Ayush also. Rendam varad. Ayush won't come, branded drugs won't come. The answer is A only. Question number 17. Okay. Yellow phosphorus present in rat poison is a potential hepatotoxic substance. Hepato means liver. So, hepatotoxic means it damages liver. Yellow phosphorus present in rat poison, is it correct? Yes. Yellow phosphorus is one of the things which is most widely, it is used in crackers. Phosphorus is most widely used in crackers. It is also used in pesticides. But in addition to that, it is also used in rat poison as well. Okay, so this part of the statement is correct. What about the rest? What damages it causes? It affects hepatotoxic. It is also known to toxic nephrotoxic. Nephro means kidney. So it is very damaging to both the liver and the kidney. Correct. Statement 2. So 1 is correct. Let's eliminate this. Second statement. Intoxication due to rat poison in humans can be treated by plasma exchange. Earlier, any person who have consumed this yellow phosphorus, the rat poison, they are usually treated based on efflux of the drug. They give enema. They will remove the drug from the body. They will make the person to vomit, to take up. But if there is a sufficient time before the treatment starts, it will start damaging the organs. And most often, if anyone who consumed the rat poison, one of the alternative was liver replacement. Because it's so much affected, liver has to be replaced. But in the recent times, the CMC Vellore, okay, have developed a new method called as plasma exchange. So rather than liver transplantation, another alternative provided for this is plasma exchange, because much of the yellow phosphorus is present in the plasma. So by exchanging plasma with a fresh one, the rat poison can be removed from the bloodstream. So it is also correct. State governments, there is one act called as Insecticides Act 1968. This Insecticides Act 1968 empowers the state government for the regulation of any pesticide which is not yet scheduled. If it is scheduled, it is regulated by Insecticides Act. If it is not scheduled, it empowers the state government to do so. Yellow phosphorus is one such non-scheduled pesticide, and therefore state governments is empowered to regulate. It is also correct. The answer is all the three. All the three statements are correct. Okay. Question number 18. Now, this question is with reference to the India's approach to polar research and expeditions. Whether India has conducted research to both the poles, Arctic pole and the Antarctic southern pole. Yes, both the poles. You might have known about it. When we say Antarctic expedition, it started in 1981 and later in 1983, we established one research station called as Dakshin Gangotri in 1983, and with the establishment of Dakshin Gangotri, India signed Antarctic Treaty. Similarly, with respect to North Pole, with respect to North Pole, India signed Svalbard Treaty. In 1920, so early, India signed the Svalbard Treaty in 1920, which enabled the members to conduct research in Arctic region. But India did not conduct any research expeditions in the North Pole till a very late point of time. In fact, only in 2007, the first North Pole expedition was taken by Indian government. And this expedition also, it is usually mostly done during summer times, during summer season, because it is during the summer season that the weather is more friendly for the researchers to take place. Otherwise, it is so hostile, so extreme that the conducting research is not possible. but only in 2023, first time. For the first time. So, point is, so far, India has conducted summer expeditions to the Arctic pole. For the first time in 2023, India had conducted a winter expedition. Winter expedition means between November to February to the North Pole. So, India has not conducted any winter expeditions becomes wrong because in 2023 we did so. Himadri is an Arctic research station solely owned by India. That is true. Himadri is a research station that is solely owned by India. It is not with respect to any collaborations also. It is solely owned by India. The polar expedition missions are primarily funded by the Ministry of Science and Technology. Remember, any kind of this research, it usually comes under MOES. Ministry of Earth Sciences. So, third is wrong, one is wrong, the answer is 2 only. Okay. So, question number 19. This question is about coal washeries. Okay. And how it, what are the benefits we get from the coal washeries? Reduction of ash content. Yes, because coal usually is powdered and then taken to coal washeries. And after the coal washeries, the coal is segregated into coking coal and non-coking. Coking coal and the non-coking coal. Coking coal is taken for steel industry and non-coking coal is used for thermal purposes, thermal plants. Now, when the coal is washed, there is a reduction of ash content. Yes, correct. Second, reduction of sulfur content. This is also correct. Because when the coal is washed, the sulfur which is present in the coal is mixing with the water. It interacts with the water and forms sulfuric acid. And that sulfuric acid will be washed away as an effluent emissions. And adanala we say that coal washeries are associated with acid mine drainage. So, what is the byproduct of coal washeries? The effluent water, right? That effluent water is usually called as acid mine drainage. What acid? Sulfuric acid. So, what is the net understanding we have? It means that sulfuric acid is removed from the coal to a significant level, which results in reduction of sulfur content. Correct. Third, facilitation of better handling and transportation efficiency. That is also correct, because coal when powdered is easier to handle. People can easily move coal from one place to another. They can easily load onto the containers. It's easier. And therefore, there is also facilitation of better handling, correct? Low combustion efficiency. This is not true. In fact, when the coal washeries are processing the coal, it results in high combustion efficiency. Wrong. Significant reduction of carbon emissions. That is also true, because if we compare the coal which is not undergoing washing and the coal which has undergone washing, there is a significant reduction of carbon emissions. Remember, coal washeries don't bring zero emissions, but they are in fact responsible for reducing carbon emissions. It is true. So, the answer is 4 is wrong. The correct answer is B, 1, 2, 3 and 5. Question number 23. In ecology, which of the following statements best describes the term dieback? You might have seen when you grow plants, some plants, they try to die from the tip of the branches. They usually started drying from the tip of the branches. Slowly the whole branch becomes dry and dies down. This is what actually called as dieback, because the death is happening backwards. In fact, this is one of the phenomena commonly known in forest conservation. Even though we may see forests, there is something very rich in fauna and the flora, the reality is very different. Even the trees in the forest, the plants and the trees in the forest are also facing threats from insects. It's called as insect predation because it happens. Then predation by the fungi at the root levels, and also other pathogenic diseases affects them. Likewise, one of the problems that affects the trees is called as dieback. And what is a dieback? The progressive dying, usually backwards from the tip of any portion of the plant. This is what actually called as dieback. The answer for this is A. Question number 24. On the opening day of COP28 climate conference in 2023, we had loss and damage fund. It is in this context the questions are framed. Loss and damage fund. This term, the loss and damage fund, it was first originally established in Bali conference. Bali Climate Change Conference 2007. The term was first introduced during this 2007 conference. And in 2013, Warsaw Conference, that the negotiations for the loss and damage fund have started. And in 2023, UAE Climate Change Conference, the first time that it has been established. So this is the timeline of the loss and damage fund. Now, it is in this context what this loss and damage means. So loss and damage, we usually say when we use the word loss and damage, for example, if some person is involved in hurting another person, for example, a neighbor, A, is throwing garbage and other waste into his neighbor's home, B, and because of the throw of his waste materials, let's say B gets a disease. Now what happens is, the real cause for the disease to emerge is actions taken by the A, and therefore B is totally within the law to apply for, to approach tort. It's called as compensation charges. This is what called as tort law. For example, tort law means any compensations that needs to be paid by the accused to the victim for any damages caused. So, நாம இப்படி நினைப்போம், loss and damage இப்படி நினைப்போம், அப்படி கிடையாது. For example, let's say Maldives, because Maldives is one of the country which is facing sea level rise. So they are facing the problem. So why the sea level rise happens? Because of climate change. But climate change, why it happens? Because of certain actions taken by some country. But which country? Can we ever fix a particular responsibility on which country? It's very difficult to do so. And unless B can clearly say A is responsible, this loss and damage won't work. That is why we have to say loss and damage is not tort law. Right. So it is not like, let's say USA, and the actions of the USA resulted in the sea level rise in Maldives, and therefore USA is liable to pay compensation to the Maldives. No, it is not like that. Because of collective actions taken by many countries, along with many other factors, we are experiencing climate change, and therefore they are more responsible, not only responsible, they are more responsible to manage the expenses, to manage the damages faced by these countries. Now that is what called as loss and damage. Why I am talking about this? Because the third statement, the fund is based on principle of liability and compensation. No. In fact, this is one of the reasons why for the long years, developed countries don't want to have a liability upon themselves, because it is not a liability that they want to have. They wanted to assist, but not in the form of liability, more in the form of humanitarian assistance. So therefore 3 is wrong. India is a significant contributor? No. But beneficiary? Yes. Because loss and damage fund is available to developing countries. So it is a beneficiary, but cannot be considered as a significant contributor. Wrong. The fund encompasses both economic losses like losses to infrastructure, losses to agricultural crops, non-economic losses. Non-economic losses such as loss of human lives, loss of biodiversity, loss of ecosystems, they are called as non-economic losses. So, both economic and non-economic losses are covered by the fund? Yes. So, only one is the answer for this question. Question number 25. Now, this question is with respect to Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. This Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was concluded during COP15 in Montreal, Canada, 2022. As we have Paris Agreement for the climate change, we do not have any such framework for biodiversity conservation. And therefore, they wanted to bring a similar framework for biodiversity as well. And the result is this Global Biodiversity Framework. And therefore, it is also called as Paris Agreement for Nature, because Paris Agreement is usually for climate change. But this is a Paris Agreement for nature. That's what its common name is. Yes. It is a legally binding framework. Wrong. This is not correct. It is not a legally binding framework. It is actually considered to be, for example, in the guidelines that has been released after the COP15 with the establishment of Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, it explicitly mentions that the goals and the targets of this GBF, Global Biodiversity Framework, is implemented in accordance with the national circumstances, priorities and capabilities. What it says is very simple. It's not like global biodiversity says so and so and so, and every country has to implement it. That is what legally binding means. No, it is not like that. Every member country should implement these priorities according to the national contingencies, according to the national situations and priorities, and therefore it is not legally binding. No. Third, 30-30 deal is a part of this framework. This global biodiversity framework, it has 4 goals to be attained by 2050 and 23 targets by 2030. This is what global biodiversity framework in simple means. 4 goals by 2050 and 23 targets to be attained by 2030. In the 23 target, one of the target is what called as 30-30 deal. It means 30% of land and oceans, okay, should be reclaimed by 2030. So this is very correct. So 1 is correct, 3 is correct, 2 is wrong. Only 2. Question number 26. Okay. There was a shift from trivalent polio vaccine to bivalent polio vaccine globally from 2016. Statement 2. Type 2 wild polio was declared eliminated globally in 2015. Okay, let's talk about this. What it says. When we say polio, this is actually caused by a virus. And there are 3 variants of the virus called as polio virus 1, 2 and 3. And in 1988, World Health Organization take up a goal of the elimination of the polio by 2000. 88 they take a goal, a global goal, a global commitment to eliminate polio in 2000. But what happens is later they have changed it. What they changed it is, later it was mentioned that this elimination of polio covers only wild polio. Not polio derived from the intake of vaccines. Please understand this. Let me break this up. What I am saying here. polio is caused by 3 virus variants, 1, 2 and 3. It is this which causes the polio disease. So to create a vaccine, we have taken the 3 viral strains in the form of trivalent, oral, live attenuated vaccine. It's called as oral live attenuated vaccine. This vaccine contains all the 3 viruses. But what happens is, when they take the vaccine, sometimes vaccine we know protects from the disease. But sometimes the vaccine also created the disease. Because the virus sometimes they mutate back. It's called as reverse mutation. They mutate back. Rather than protecting, it in turn gives rise to cause of the disease itself. Okay? இதில் அதிகமா யாரு பண்றாங்க தெரியுமா? இந்த 2 தான். இந்த ரிவர்ஸ் மியூட்டேஷன் ஆகி வேக்சினாலேயே டிசீஸ் வர்றதுக்கு முக்கியமான காரணம் யாருன்னா 2. ப்ளீஸ் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் தட். ஸோ இப்படி வர அந்த போலியோ என்னன்னு சொல்லுவாங்கன்னா, இட் இஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் வேக்சின் டிரைவ்டு போலியோ. இட் இஸ் நாட் வைல்டு போலியோ. It is a vaccine derived polio. World Health Organization in 1988, they declared the global commitment of eradicating polio by 2000. This does not include vaccine derived polio. Then what happened? In 2015, okay, we attained one achievement. Enna achievement na? This wild polio 2, polio virus 2 has been eliminated. If polio virus 2 has been eliminated, what is the reason to make a vaccine using that? இப்போ ஒரு வைரஸ் ஒரு பாப்புலேஷன்ல இருக்குதுன்னா அந்த வைரஸை வேக்சின்ல இன்க்ளூட் பண்ணணும். But that virus has been eliminated. Plus another reason, this is the culprit which is causing vaccine derived polio disease. அப்போ என்ன நினைச்சாங்கன்னா, okay, we don't need trivalent, we need bivalent, which means 3 polio virus யூஸ் பண்ண வேணாம், polio virus 1, polio virus 3 மட்டும் யூஸ் பண்ணா போதும். Because of 2 reasons. One reason, polio virus 2 has been eliminated. Reason 2, polio virus 2 is a cause of vaccine derived polio disease, and therefore that is what explained. So type 2 wild polio was declared, eliminated. So next year trivalent வந்து bivalent போறாங்க. So perfectly explains. The answer is A. Question number 28. Consider the following statements with reference to Global Biodiversity Framework Fund. This fund was established last year, 2023. Decisions of Global Biodiversity Framework Fund, decisions of this council are to be taken through majority voting system. No, it is not a democracy. In most of the international negotiations, decisions are taken based on consensus. Most often. I'm not saying always, most often. So it is not by majority voting. Wrong. As much as 20% of this fund will support indigenous-led initiatives to protect and conserve biodiversity, this is correct. Answer is 2 only. Question number 35. Now this question is about Bhitarkanika National Park, which is in Odisha. It is a Ramsar site? Yes. In 2002, it was declared as a Ramsar site. It is an important habitat for saltwater crocodiles. Yes. Saltwater crocodiles is found in India, Sri Lanka, and also in much of Southeast Asia. And in India, it is found in Sundarbans, Odisha, Bhitarkanika National Park, Odisha, okay, and also Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It is in these places here that saltwater crocodiles are found. It is also least concerned species according to IUC. So it is an important habitat for the saltwater crocodile, Bhitarkanika National Park. Yes. It is India's second largest mangrove ecosystem after the Sundarbans. That is also correct. 1, 2 and 3 is the right statement for this. Right. Question number 36. Now this question is slightly trickier. You need to read the question and consider the options more carefully. Now question goes, while invasive plants are not a primary food source for any herbivore, okay, it means we are establishing here predator-prey relationship, where herbivore is a predator, invasive plants is a prey. But it also says not a primary food source. Herbivores don't eat invasive plants always. The story is surprisingly nuanced. Large grazers like rhinoceros, Indian bison and sambar have been observed consuming them, particularly during dry season. So they say it happens. In fact, this report came in a newspaper with a major finding that the herbivores are responsible for the spread of invasive plants during dry seasons. Why? Because they consume them. Because why? Because during dry seasons, other plants are available in lesser numbers. So they started eating invasive plants. So remember, it is not a primary food source. Now, what is the species relationship here? Let's see this. Here, herbivore, which is eating invasive plants. So invasive plants, because it is eaten, it is harmed. And herbivore, because it eats them, they are benefited. So therefore, because one of them is harmed, mutualism and proto-cooperation will not come at all. Because in mutualism and proto-cooperation, both the members are benefited. Amensalism, what happens in amensalism? In amensalism, one of the members is negatively affected, the other is neutral. In commensalism, one of them is positively benefited and the other is neutral. Now what happens here is, because invasive plants is not a primary source of food, we have to consider that they are not harmed, they seems to be neutral. Because they don't eat them too much, they eat them only very few. Appo, one is neutral and the other is benefited, the answer is commensalism. Amensalism is also avoided, the answer is B. Question number 40. Question number 40. Now this question is about National Green Tribunal. Statement 1 says, the appointment of chairperson and members of the National Green Tribunal, who does it? It is done by the central government. According to section 3. And during this appointment, okay, section 6 says that the appointment to be done by the central government in consultation with the Chief Justice of India, not collegial. So on these two accounts, that it is not recommendation, it is consultation. Second, it is done by the Chief Justice of India, not the collegium. So this is wrong, according to section 6 of this act. Second, once they cease holding of their office, no member can accept any employment for 2 years from those who were litigating parties during the tenure. Why? Because to avoid a conflict of interest. To avoid any conflict of interest between the judges and the litigating parties, once they leave the office for 2 years, they cannot entertain any employment opportunities to those litigating parties. This is perfectly correct. Now, this is entailed in section 5 of this act. But for this, post-retirement employment opportunities, one exemption is given. What exemption? If the appointment is made by the central or the state government, they can take the job. If they want to get into any private businesses or corporates, they cannot take job for 2 years. But any appointment can be made by central or the state government. But here in statement 3, it says no member can be appointed, which is wrong. So the answer for the question is only 1. 41st question. This question is about nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle, let me say in a very easy format. Atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonia. This process is called as nitrogen fixation, and this ammonia undergoes series of changes, NO2 minus and then NO3 minus. This is called as nitrite. This is called as nitrate. This stage is called as nitrification. And in the soil, it is once again converted into atmospheric nitrogen. Now this is called as denitrification. Now let's look at the first statement. Nitrogen fixation is a process of oxidizing ammonia to nitrate, which is wrong. Here nitrogen fixation enna? N2 to NH3. So wrong. Nitrification process causes reduction of NO3 to NO2. Wrong. NO3 to NO2 illa. NO2 to NO3. Enna agudana? NH3 is first converted into NO2 minus, nitrite, and then it is further transformed into NO3 minus, which is nitrate. But here they give differently. Then they say followed by recycling of nitrogen to the atmosphere. Remember, this recycling of nitrogen to the atmosphere is denitrification. It is not nitrification. So wrong. Third statement, denitrification converts molecular nitrogen into fixed form. No. Tappu. Fixed form, அதாவது fixed form தான் molecular nitrogen மாத்துறாங்க. இதுல இருந்து இங்க வரதுக்கு பேரு nitrogen fixation. So third is also wrong. Answer is D. None. All the three statements are wrong. Question number 42. The question is about micronutrients and macronutrients. Which one of the following is an example of a macronutrient? Magnesium. It's a very straightforward answer. Manganese, copper, chlorine, they are all micronutrients. Manganese is the, magnesium is the macronutrient. The answer is C. Question number 43. The technology known as electromagnetic airlift system is sometimes seen in the news is in reference to aircraft carriers. They have to launch aircrafts, the fighter jets, with a very short runways. They have a very short runways, and this fighter jets has to move away from the aircraft. They have to be launched with a very short runway. So they use usually what is called as catapult. Catapult is used to launch these fighter jets. This catapult is steam based. They wanted to try a new method called as electromagnetic airlift system, which is right now present in US Navy. Okay, so here they use electromagnetic power, electromagnetic force to launch this satellite. So to launch this aircrafts. So it is not with irrigation systems. It is not nuclear powered submarines or rockets. It is launching aircraft and warships. B is the answer for this. Question number 53. With reference to India's defense, consider the following helicopters. Cheetah, which is actually imported from France. Chetak, an advanced version of Cheetah is Chetak. But both are primarily transportation helicopters. In fact, most of the leaders, okay, top leaders of our country, the top officers of the country travel through Chetak or Cheetah aircraft, Cheetah helicopters. Transportation as well as reconnaissance. But the one which can carry turret gun, rocket system and air-to-air missile is Rudra. So Rudra enna, it is completely indigenous. Developed by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It has turrets, it has rocket systems, Russian rocket Igla. It can carry up to 12 or 24 rockets. It also can carry air-to-air missiles. The answer is only one. Only Rudra is capable of all these three facilities. Question number 57. The term Sagittarius A, sometimes mentioned in the news related to Sagittarius A star, Sagittarius A star. This is actually the name given to the supermassive black hole present in the center of our Milky Way galaxy. A is the right answer. In fact, in the middle of every galaxy, there will be one very big black hole which is called a supermassive black hole. Every galaxy usually will have it. For our Milky Way, it is Sagittarius A star. The answer is A. It's not related to any other thing. The answer is A. Question number 58. Which one of the following experiments explain the wave nature of electromagnetic radiation? When we say electromagnetic radiation, they have dual property. They have wave nature, they have particle nature. The question is asking which explains the wave nature. Black body radiation is an elaboration of its particle nature. Photoelectric effect, this is actually the fundamental of solar power generation, is a particle effect. Rutherford scattering is also a particle effect. The only answer is diffraction of light. This explains the wave nature. The answer is D, wave nature. Question number 59. Many fruits burst with a sudden jerk because of which the seeds are scattered. Now this is with respect to how seeds are scattered from the plants. Mostly the seeds, when they fall down, they grow into a new plant. But if the seeds fall into the same place where the mother plant is there, there will be competition. So what they do, the seeds will be dispersed in some distance away from the parent plant. This can be done by many agents. Anemo is related to dispersal by wind. Hydro, water. Auto, self. Zoo, animal. They say many fruits burst with a sudden jerk, mean they disperse by themselves. A good example of that is pea plants. You allow the pea plants and the seeds to mature, after a point it will burst open and the seeds will fall off with a distance. Now that is called as autocoring. The answer is C. Question number 64. Which one among the following diseases does not have any effective vaccines? Chickenpox. Chickenpox has its own vaccine. It has its own vaccine called as varicella vaccine. Yes. Typhoid also has a vaccine called as Ty21A vaccine. Human papilloma virus also has a vaccine called as HPV vaccine. But viral hepatitis C, it does not have any vaccine so far. It is actually a blood-based transmission. And because this hepatitis C virus, is extremely different in terms of its genetic variabilities. It is having a high rate of genetic variability. If a virus is highly variable, developing a vaccine is very difficult because it changes. The vaccine will become ineffective. You make a vaccine now, it will change again. So, because of this, developing a vaccine for viral hepatitis C is still a stumbling block because of a genetic variability. Adukku dhaan innum vaccine kadayadu. Question number 65. The transfer of electric signals by nerve cells in human body is enabled by what? We know that nerve cells conduct electrical signals. How they conduct? They conduct by the movement of ions in and out. இப்போ இதுதான் nerve cell இருக்குன்னா இதுக்கு உள்ள சில ions போகும், இதுக்கு வெளியே சில ions வரும். இதை ஆர்கெஸ்ட்ரேட் பண்றது மூலமா the nerve signal conducts electrical impulse, நம்ம electric current மாதிரி போகும். This has been choreographed. This choreographs. It goes like that. இது எதனால நடக்குதுன்னா it involves both sodium and the potassium. The answer is D. Question number 70. Or numerically skilled. Which animals have the ability for understanding number system? Dolphins, crow, gorilla, and recently black bear. In fact, all the four. It's a very straightforward. Which animals are capable? All the four are capable of these numerical skills. So D is the answer. Question number 71. Endosymbiosis is the process by which an independent prokaryotic organism becomes a part of an eukaryotic organism. Let's say this is a eukaryote. Let's say this is a small prokaryote. You know what happens? Sometimes the small prokaryote gets inside the eukaryote cell and becomes a part of it. And once they become a part of it, they will turn into a cell organelle. இந்த ஆர்கனல்ன்றது இப்படிதான் வந்திருக்கும்னு சயின்டிஸ்ட் சொல்றாங்க. அந்த மாதிரி எது எதெல்லாம் இருக்குன்னு கேட்கலாம். Mitochondria is something very similar because mitochondria behaves like an individual cell, but it is not a cell. It is a part of a cell. It is a cell organelle. Mitochondria. The same is true for chloroplast also. Chloroplast is known for photosynthesis. It also the same. Very recently we have discovered another one called as nitroplast. What is a nitroplast? It is a cell organelle in eukaryote. Now this is very surprising. இதோட function என்ன? Nitrogen fixation. So the function of nitroplast is nitrogen fixation. Why I said surprising is because so far nitrogen fixation is done only by prokaryotes. But recently we have discovered that even eukaryotes are capable of doing it by using nitroplast. But அது எப்படி வந்திருக்கும்னா ஒருவேளை ஒரு eukaryotes இருந்திருக்கும். இந்த nitrogen fixing bacteria ஏதாவது உள்ள போயிட்டு it lost its way to come out. Okay, like Abhimanyu who enters into that Viyugam and cannot come back into Chakra Viyugam. You would have known Mahabharatam. He know how to enter but don't know how to come out. Now that becomes a part, a permanent part of the cell. That's what called as nitroplast. Recently it has been discovered. So all the three is what the answers. Question number 99. Questions with respect to sperm whales. Sperm whale, they belong to what are called as cetaceans. They belong to what are called as cetaceans, which includes dolphins, porpoises, whales, etc. Now the question, they are the largest toothed whale. Let me tell you, whales can be toothed or non-toothed. Pallu irunda toothed, pallu illana non-toothed. Dolphins, sperm whales, they are toothed. But when we say baleen whale, they don't have teeth at all. They are usually called as filter feeders. They don't have a teeth. So, sperm whale, is it a toothed whale? Yes. They have the largest brain of any animal on earth? Yes. Ambergris, used in perfumery. Ambergris, it is a special structure formed in the intestine of this sperm whale during the digestion of octopus. The sperm whale, you know, they preferentially eat octopus. But octopus has lot of very small thorn-like structures. So to protect its intestine, they have a special structure called as ambergris. This ambergris, in fact, is a source of perfume. Correct. All three are correct. Last question, question 100. Statement 1. LPG produces lesser emissions than CNG and is considered cleaner and greener. Statement 2. LPG has higher calorific value than CNG. So let's talk about LPG. What LPG is? It is a mix of propane and butane. Propane is a 3-carbon compound. Butane is a 4-carbon compound. What is CNG? CNG is nothing but methane. and therefore it is a one carbon. Methane, CH4, one carbon now. அப்போ இப்போ சொல்லுங்க எதை burn பண்ணா emissions கம்மியா வரும்? LPG produces lesser emissions கிடையாது. CNG produces lesser emissions. That is why CNG is usually referred as a cleaner fuel. So therefore, statement 1 is wrong. Straight away you can say B is the right answer. But let me give another explanation. Statement 2. LPG has a higher calorific value than CNG. Let me give you a very simple thing. எப்போ calorific value அதிகமாகும்னா when there is a more the hydrogen present in a compound, the more the combustion value, more the calorie they have. Higher the number of carbons, higher the calorie it has. இந்த இடத்துல C3 propane என்ன தெரியுமா? C3H8. There are 8 hydrogen. In methane there is only 4, which means they have more calories. Therefore, statement 2 is correct. LPG has more calorie, but emissions wise, they are more emissions than CNG. So therefore the answer is D. Statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is correct. So with this we come to the end of the discussion. Thank you.
Now the first question is about volcanoes. Since there are so many volcanic eruption incidents throughout the world, starting from Indonesia to St. Helens, Galapagos Islands in Ecuador, there is a high chance for a question on volcanoes to appear, right? So these volcanoes are characterized by eruptions of cooler and more viscous lavas, viscous or viscous, however you pronounce it, viscous lavas than basalt. Basalt is a free-flowing volcanic liquid or lava, right? Basalt is very less viscous, so it can flow freely without any tightening effect. These volcanoes often result in explosive eruptions. This is the second key word, explosive eruptions. Along with lava, large quantities of pyroclastic material and ashes find their way to the ground. This material accumulates in the vicinity of the vent, opening leading to formation of layers. This is the third key, formation of layers, and gives a distinct appearance. Now, which of the following type of volcano is described in the above passage? When we talk about volcanoes, there are two main types of volcanoes with respect to the viscosity of lava, right? When the viscosity is higher, the lava wouldn't flow to a much larger area. It would get restricted to a very minor area. That is, if this is the volcano, the lava would come out. Since it is very highly viscous, it would concentrate in such a fashion. So, what is the result is different strata, different layers of volcano. So, this is also termed as composite volcano or stratovolcano, right? So, what is shown here, it is more viscous, criteria 1. It results in explosive eruptions. So, when so many layers are formed, this lava needs some form of vent or an opening to get out. So, since these are blocking the passage, it comes out with a huge explosion, throwing away all the pyroclastic materials at the nearby zones. So, criteria 2 is also fine. And third one results in formation of layers. Yes, so many layers have been formed here. So, the answer is composite volcano, right? What about shield volcano? Shield volcano generally takes place in a zone where we have low viscous lava. That is, the lava would cover so many nearby adjacent areas. So, we can say in Hawaii, the Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea volcanic eruptions belong to such class of volcanoes, right? What about composite volcano? We have St. Helens of US, Fuji volcano. These are some types of composite volcano. Now, what about caldera? In what kind of situation does caldera volcanoes get formed? Generally, the same criteria as of composite volcanoes. The lava is very viscous. It gets formed in such a fashion. It is tightly packed. Now, the magma chamber would be in this region. The magma tries to come out with high pressure, and due to the resulting pressure, the above cone is blasted off with huge amount of pressure. And what is the result? A huge depression. A huge depression. This depression is known as caldera. Right? The same condition, highly viscous lava, huge explosion, The result is a bowl-shaped depression, right? It is called as caldera. And due to rainfall or other collection of water within it, it is termed as caldera lake also sometimes, with respect to the regional differences. What about flood basalt volcano? We have our very famous example, our Deccan Traps. It is an example for flood basalt volcano. It reaches out to a very much larger area like Deccan Traps, and today we have our black cotton soil as a result of erosion of basaltic lava, right? So the answer is composite volcano. Now the next question, consider the following pairs: gneiss, marble, limestone, metamorphic, igneous and sedimentary rocks. This is the most traditional question. We have it in our NCERT as well. What about igneous rocks? These are also termed as primary rocks, since these are formed as a result of solidification of lava or magma, right? So there are so many examples for this. We have granite. Granite is one famous example for igneous rocks. Now, coming to the sedimentary rocks. What are sedimentary rocks? When the igneous rocks or any other kind of rock is eroded, these eroded material are put together. They form into a uniform. Many weathered particles come together by the process of lithification, and the resulting rock is also called as sedimentary rocks. Now, when we talk about sedimentary rocks, there are so many processes involved. They are compaction and lithification. Compaction takes place by the pressure of the surrounding objects, right? So there are so many types of sedimentary rocks, like for example, we have sandstone, we have limestone, we have chert, halite, geyserite, shale, right? So is limestone a sedimentary rock? Definitely yes. Now what about metamorphic rocks? As the term indicates, metamorphic, morph indicates a change in the rock system. It is changed by high pressure or high temperature. The metamorphic rocks, the volume of these rocks and the chemical composition of these rocks undergoes a significant change. The rock, let the parent rock be igneous rock or let the parent rock be sedimentary rock. Due to the effect of pressure and temperature, the composition, the physical characteristics of such parent rocks gets evolved or gets morphed, and the result is metamorphic rock, right? So gneiss is definitely a kind of metamorphic rock, there is no doubt in it, but marble is also an example of metamorphic rock. It is definitely not igneous rock, right? Therefore, the answer is only 2. Now, moving on to the next question. Recently seen in news, the place called Isfara Valley is a disputed region between which of the following countries? Now, before saying the answer, I would like to tell about the history of this particular region. Earlier, when it was under the Soviet control, the resources were equally shared upon. There were less disputes in this region. But post-Soviet era, post-1990s, these regions were bifurcated, and the result, most resourceful regions were fought between 2 countries, and this particular valley is present in between these 2 countries. It is very rich, resourceful, very good for agriculture as well. So, it is Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, right? This particular region is very resourceful and very closer. Another region is Fergana Valley. This is also another rich region present in between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Recently, there were disputes between the farming communities of both these countries. They were found attacking themselves with agricultural tools or something like that, right? So, it hit the headlines for this reason. Isfara Valley is something that is related to Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Now, when we talk about the Central Asian region, the map is pretty confusing. We never come to a conclusion on which country borders which country. So, let's simplify the diagram. We have Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Let's consider this as Uzbekistan. Let's consider this as Turkmenistan, and at the adjacent side we have Caspian Sea. Right, let's simplify the diagram. All we have below here is Iran. Right, if the diagram is simplified, this is how our Central Asian map would look like. If the map is so simple as this, we can easily find out which country borders which country. Right, and this region above is nothing but our huge Kazakhstan. It is very huge, right? So try to learn the location, the bordering countries by simplifying maps as far as you can. Now, moving to the next question. Now, which of the following statements regarding the laterite soils of India are correct? The options are, they are normally heavy and black in color. Now, black, you should pause there and check for it. They are rich in organic matter and humus. Once again, something to be checked. They are well developed in areas with high temperature and high rainfall. There are so many types of soil in India. We have red soil, laterite soil, black cotton soil, alluvial soil, so many kind of soils rich in different kinds of chemical constituents. But when you come to laterite soil, it is rich in nothing. Because laterite soils are formed as a result of heavy leaching. This particular region, for example, let's take Western Ghats, the foothills of Western Ghats. This region is under the influence of high temperature and, of course, high rainfall. So all these rainfall results in leaching of this particular region, the foothills of Western Ghats, and whatever that is remaining is nothing but laterite soil. It is not rich in humus, it is not rich in nitrogen or nothing. The only constituent that are remaining in laterite soil is just two components, iron oxide. It is obvious because iron oxide gives the red tinge present in the laterite soil. In Kerala, you can find so many brick factories that are formed with the help of laterite soils, and the other component is aluminium. Yes. So, iron oxide and aluminium. These are the two components that are present in laterite soils, right? So, when we come to the first statement, heavy and black in color, it is not black in color. It is not black cotton soil or regur soil to be black in color. So, one is wrong. They are rich in organic matter and humus. Definitely not. All the organic matter are leached. Sometimes in wet soils, there may be some amount. They are very well developed in areas with high temperature and high rainfall. Definitely yes. So, the answer is only one. Another question on volcanoes. These are large dome-shaped, intrusive, dome-shaped, intrusive bodies. Intrusive in the sense it is formed underground, inside the Earth's crust, not on the surface, with a level base, and connected by a pipe-like conduit from below. Okay. It resembles the surface volcanic domes of composite volcanoes, only these are located at a deeper depth. Yes, it can be regarded as the localized source of lava that finds its way to the surface. Now, you would have come through certain volcanic landforms, like for example, you could have heard about Phacolith, you could have heard about Bacolith, Lopolith, Lacolith. There are so many kinds of igneous intrusions. One such kind is Lacolith. A Lacolith is a kind of igneous intrusion that is formed underground, which are dome-shaped. What about the other kinds? What about batholith? Batholith is formed inside the magma chamber. We all know that deep down, we have a huge magma chamber. Now, what happens if this magma chamber solidifies into a solid zone? Now, this region is called as batholith. Bathos, it means at depth. You would have heard about bathymetry. Bathymetry is nothing but survey or study about the underwater regions. What about dike? Dike is a pillar-like formation, a vertical formation. Sill is something different. Sill is a horizontal formation. Laccolith, as I said, it is a dome-shaped formation. There is another form as well with a nearly similar name, that is Lapolith or Lopolith. Lopolith is something like this. It is a curved, upward curved U form, right? So the answer is Laccolith. Moving on to the next question. Gulf of Aqaba is bordered by which of the following countries? For the past 1 year, Gulf of Aqaba has been in use for so many reasons, but most of the reasons associate this region with violence, with terrorist attacks, with border issues. There are so many information about Gulf of Aqaba that are not well known but are so interesting. We'll talk about them in a minute. Now, Gulf of Aqaba, the map would look something like this. This is Suez Canal. Here we have Port Said. This region is Egypt. This region is, of course, Israel, and here we have our Gaza Strip. Here we have Jordan, and this is nothing but Saudi Arabia. Right. So, coming to a question, Egypt, Israel, Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Jordan, yes. Israel, yes. Lebanon. Lebanon is somewhere here. It is above Israel, nowhere closer to Gulf of Aqaba, so no Lebanon. Egypt, yes. Syria, no. Syria is somewhere here. So, Syria is not there. Saudi Arabia, definitely yes. So, an option with 1, 2, 4 and 6. Option D is the right answer. Now, talking about some certain information that is very new about Gulf of Aqaba, it is also known as Gulf of Eilat. Gulf of Eilat. Right. Now, would you believe that this region supports coral reefs? It is highly not possible because we have never seen this zone in for such a reason. But yes, it is in fact rich in coral reefs. We would have heard that Red Sea, Red Sea, Dead Sea, Gulf of Aqaba, these regions are high in salinity. On the other side, coral reefs would generally don't thrive in saline regions because they are so sensitive. But this particular coral reefs present in the Gulf of Aqaba, they are resistant to climate change. They can withstand high salinity, right? So that is why it is famous. And there are a few more information that I would like to say. This region is also called as, that is the region encompassing Egypt and Gulf of Aqaba, it is also called as Red Sea Riviera. Red Sea Riviera. Why this name? This region supports so many kind of national parks, protected areas. And remember COP27, which took place in Sharm el Sheikh. This region is present at this region, the southernmost region, the southernmost tip of Sinai Peninsula. This particular V is called as Sinai Peninsula. And the southernmost tip, that is the region where our conference of parties for UNFCCC took place. That is Sharm el Sheikh. Right. And there are a few more information. This particular region has a few smaller islands. Tiran Island. And one surprising question, whether this particular region lies above Tropic of Cancer or below Tropic of Cancer? Maybe if such kind of questions would arise in our UPSC question paper, on the spot we would get surprised and, okay, this is a very simple fact, but I have not noticed it while I was preparing it, right? So in fact, this region lies above Tropic of Cancer, right? So the entire Suez Canal, the entire Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, all these regions, these are located above Tropic of Cancer, right? So we have our answer here. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements. The latitude which passes through the southernmost point of India will definitely pass through Sri Lanka. What is the southernmost point of India? Well, if you consider it to be Kanyakumari, fine. Or if you consider it to be Indira Point in Andaman Nicobar Islands, that is also fine, because both the latitudes that pass through the southernmost tips of India would definitely go through Sri Lanka. This statement is right. Second statement, the latitude which passes through the northernmost point of India will not pass through Saudi Arabia. In fact, this statement is right. Guess for a minute. Do you think that the northernmost latitude that connects India would pass through Pakistan? In fact, not. No. It passes through Afghanistan. It passes through Afghanistan. It passes through Iran. It passes through Turkey. It passes through Syria, but not through Pakistan. Right. Now, the third statement, the longitude which passes through the westernmost point of India will definitely pass through Kazakhstan. In fact, it is the right statement. The region that connects Gujarat, touches upon Gujarat, the westernmost point, it definitely passes through Kazakhstan. Please check out in your map. The longitude which passes through the easternmost point of India will not pass through Mongolia. That is the wrong statement. Mongolia, in fact, it is not a famous country as far as our knowledge is concerned, but Mongolia is somewhat bigger. It covers a huge geographical region above China, and it is sandwiched between China and Russia. Now, our longitude that passes through India's easternmost point would definitely pass through Mongolia. So, this statement is wrong. Now, the answer is only 3. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statement with reference to recent mineral discoveries in India. Questions have been occurring again and again with respect to MMDR Act, minerals, whether such kind of mineral is a major one or a minor one, which government, center or the state has complete rights over it. Such kind of questions are repeatedly been asked in UPSC. So I think that's how this question is relevant for any UPSC aspirant. Now, tantalum deposits have been unearthed in Sutlej River sand. Vanadium has been found in sediment samples collected from Gulf of Khambat. Large reserves of lithium mineral have been discovered in some districts of Rajasthan. One direct answer for all these statements is that all these 3 kind of minerals are found in India or produced in India in very trace amounts. We are dependent upon other nations like US, Australia, Kazakhstan for all these minerals. Let's get more deeper. Tantalum deposits have been unearthed in Sutlej River sand. Definitely, yes. Very recently, it was found there. Right. So, in what ways tantalum is very essential? In electric components, in resistors, in capacitors, and so many other electronic instruments. Tantalum is very essential for us. We are still importing tantalum from US, UK, the West, right? Now, coming to the second statement, vanadium has been found in sediment samples collected from Gulf of Khambat. Yes, this famous region, you would have heard about this famous region, Alang in Gujarat. This region is famous for ship breakage, right? Recycling and reusage of ship parts is being done in this region prominently, Alang in Gujarat. Vanadium has been found in trace amounts in this particular region as well. Now, what are the uses of vanadium? Vanadium is useful as a steel additive. Steel industries it is mostly used, right? When we talk about vanadium, we import more amount of vanadium from China. We are dependent on China for vanadium, right? So, obviously, second statement is right. Third one, large reserves of the lithium mineral have been discovered in some districts of Jharkhand. Yes. The famous lithium triangle, you would have known about it. It is present in South America, right? It connects 3 countries. Remember those countries? We are dependent upon Australia for the import of lithium. It would have been obvious by now. What is the main usage of lithium? It is batteries, right? Yes. So, this statement is also right. All 3 statements are right. Coming to the next question. The windward passage is present between which of the following countries? Cuba, Haiti, Morocco, Spain, Japan, Russia, Malaysia, Indonesia. All these regions would have some one or the other kind of disputes. So it is very tough to recognize which region would be having a tussle. Now, windward passage will directly come to the answer. The answer is Cuba and Haiti. Haiti is in news for the gang war that is happening in Port-au-Prince region, right? The capital of Haiti, right? If this is Haiti, Cuba would be somewhere here. This is the windward passage we were talking about. It connects Caribbean Sea with Atlantic, right? I strongly believe that Haiti would somehow, in any particular angle, it may be asked in this year's UPSC question, right? Let's anticipate for this question to be asked. So, the answer is A. Now, moving on to the next question. This river rises from Acarai Mountains on the Brazilian border. Okay, this question is somehow related to South America. That is fine. And flows northward. This is one clue that we need to circle upon. For approximately 630 miles through savannas and forest and drains into the Atlantic Ocean. This is another clue. With its chief tributaries, the Rupnuni, Mazaruni and Suyuni, its system drains more than half of Guyana. Now, with the clues that we have noticed in the question, is there any possibility we can eliminate any of our options? I hope Zambezi is the first victim to be eliminated because it is not in South American continent, it is in the Africa, right? So, it is the first one to be eliminated. Now, coming to the Amazon River, how can we eliminate Amazon River? I believe it is not a northward flowing river, it is an eastward flowing river, right? So, Amazon River is also one to be eliminated. What about Essequibo and Orinoco? Bit tricky. In fact, we need to know the map of South America. Right. So, we will draw it upon. We have Colombia here. The neighboring country is Venezuela. The next one is Guyana. Next is Suriname. And the next one is French Guiana. Right. So, Essequibo River is one that flows from the Brazilian border towards the Atlantic Ocean. So, it definitely passes through Guyana. Right. So, the right answer is Essequibo, that's fine. But what about Orinoco River? An ideal aspirant should not leave the wrong options either. When you analyze, you have to take into account the wrong option as well and find out why it is wrong, right? So, Orinoco River is something that flows from Venezuela to Guyana. Right? Oh, I'm sorry, Colombia to Venezuela, right? There is another river as well, Catatumbo River. This has struck the news so many times. Catatumbo River and Maracaibo Lake. Catatumbo and Maracaibo Lake. This is present in this particular region. There is a huge dent in this region. There is a gulf and the lake thus formed is called as Maracaibo Lake and the river that drains it is called as Catatumbo River. Right? So, the order from left to right goes in such a way. Catatumbo first, then we have Orinoco, then we have Essequibo. Right? So, the answer is Essequibo. In the context of landform formation, cirques, arids, bergstrands are relatively easier question because this is present in our school books, I guess. Right. So, these are formed by landforms of glaciation, landforms of wind erosion, landforms of water erosion, landforms of karst topography. Right. Now, let's explain this. Now, let us consider a landform like this. The glacier generally scoops away the landform in such a format. The resulting one is a bowl-shaped depression. It forms a lake as well. Now, this particular region is called as cirques. This depression, the erosional landform, formed as a result of glacial erosion. That is termed as cirques. What about arids? What if this kind of erosion takes place on both the sides of a mountain or a plateau? The resulting formation would look something like this, a two-dimensional feature. Now, this kind of formation is called as arids. It would look something like this. Right. It is a longitudinal feature. Right. So, arids. What about bergstrands? Now, it is a nightmare for mountaineers, mountain climbers. They would find sudden fault line along the glacier. Right. If there is a glacier like this, there will be a sudden strike slip fault or a simple fault would be there. So, that is known as bergstrands. So, all these three landforms are related to glaciation. So, the right answer is A. Which of the following statement about Humboldt enema is right? Humboldt enema has been in news recently. Generally, we have a thought that tropical region is the most resourceful region, most rich region. Reason? It receives so much amount of insolation, solar radiation, and this amount of energy would result in low pressure area. This would attract so much of rainfall. So when rainfall is there, this region would be obviously biodiversity rich, right? Now there are two factors that determine whether the region is biodiversity rich or not. The two factors are species richness and species evenness. What do you mean by species richness and species evenness? Species richness means you have so many number of species. We have elephants, we have tigers, we have deers, sambar deer, we have black bucks. So if we have so many number of different species, then that is termed as species richness. It doesn't mean that, it is directly opposite to having species isolation. That is, if there is only one species present in a particular region, then that is directly opposite to species richness. It is definitely not biodiversity rich. So that is species richness. What about species evenness? We already have so many number of species in a particular region. After that, if all the number of species is also same, for example, if we have 5 lions, if we have 10 black bucks, if we have 10 sambar deer, this particular combination is more or less balanced. It is even. We cannot expect the tiger population to be as equal as black buck population. Right? This is just an example. What if there is only one tiger, 100 black bucks and 200 sambar deers? This is definitely not even. This kind of species population is inclined towards one particular species. It is not even. Right? So now I think you would have understood what species evenness is. The combo of both species richness and species evenness is termed as biodiversity rich region. Now the Humboldt enema talks about this biodiversity rich region. General conception is that biodiversity would be generally rich in tropical regions, but this contends that. It opposes this particular notion. It says that even mountainous regions would have biodiversity rich regions as well. Think about Western Ghats. Think about Himalayan region. Think about Sunda region, Indo-Burman region. All these are mountainous regions. But in India, we talk about biodiversity hotspots. There are 4 biodiversity hotspots in India. The 4 regions are Western Ghats, Himalayan region, Sunda region, that is Andaman and Nicobar. And then we have the Indo-Burma region, that is the northeast region. All these regions are mountainous regions, except for Sunda region. All these regions are mountainous region and they are biodiversity rich, right? So that is Humboldt enema. Now, coming to the options, a phenomenon in which tropical areas have greater diversity and a productivity than other areas, it is directly opposite to that. The observation that mountain regions generally display higher diversity than tropical region, that is the right answer. It is nowhere related to Arctic Ocean or Antarctic Ocean, right? So the answer is B. This theory was propounded by Alexander von Humboldt, and he states an example for this. It is Chimborazo mountain from Ecuador. Chimborazo mountain of Ecuador. Now, moving on to the next question. Consider the following statement with reference to Gatun Lake. There are some interesting features associated with Gatun Lake. You would have heard about the Panama Canal crisis, right? The water dried up due to the heavy drought present in the Central American regions, right? So, the geographical features associated with Panama Canal is Gatun Lake. We have few more geographical features. We'll come to them in a minute. It is the largest man-made freshwater lake. It is. In fact, the nation of Panama is very thin, a thin stripe. It is sandwiched between Atlantic here and Pacific here, right? It is very thin. So, the possibility of the lakes and rivers present in this region to be saline is more possible. To our surprise, Gatun Lake is not a saltwater lake. It is a freshwater lake, despite being within this thin stripe-like country, right? So, it is of course a man-made freshwater lake. It is formed due to the built up of a dam, right? It is located in Panama Canal, definitely yes. Chagres River is its main source, right? One important, interesting feature about Chagres River is that we would have heard about rivers generally draining into one particular ocean. But this river drains into two oceans. How is that possible? I think there is a leakage of river from the dam site. It flows opposite to the canal belt region and it flows through both the drainage oceans. Now, if this is Panama Canal, if this is Chagres River, it makes up Lake Gatun in this particular region and it drains here in Atlantic Ocean. And it drains in the opposite side as well. It is leaked somewhere and forms a river from that. And it gets drained into, what is this region? Not simply Pacific Ocean. This region can be specifically called Gulf of Panama. Now, we may get a confusion where Gulf of Panama is, whether on the northern side or whether it is on the southern side. It is on the southern side, right? The Panama region would be something like this, just like the chicken's neck. The southern region is generally called as Gulf of Panama, right? So, all the three statements are right. Answer is C. Consider the following statement with reference to Indian land susceptibility map. Now, this kind of map is first of all published by IIT Delhi. A department in IIT Delhi has published this particular map, high resolution map. As per this map, about 12% of India's geographical area is susceptible to landslides. That is right. It is a factual statement. You need not bother about whether it is 12% or 13%, but Kerala is vulnerable to landslide. We have been noticing it in our newspapers, right? So, statement 1 is right. Now, Kerala is the non-Himalayan state which is highly susceptible to landslides. Yes. In fact, this report focuses upon three important regions: Northwest Himalayas, Northeast Himalayas, and third, Western Ghats, that is particularly Kerala. The Northwestern Himalayan region is the most vulnerable to landslides. The number 1 spot is taken by the northwest part of Himalayas. The second spot is taken by northeastern part of Himalayas, and the third spot goes for Kerala, that is in the Western Ghats region. Right. So, the answer is both 1 and 2. There is one more report similar to this land susceptibility map, that is landslide atlas. Landslide atlas. Just like how this susceptibility map is prepared by IIT Delhi, the landslide atlas is prepared by ISRO. An important fact to be remembered. So, the answer is both 1 and 2. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statements about Indian Ocean dipole is correct? Indian Ocean dipole. This phenomenon occurs in tropical Pacific Ocean. It is bluntly wrong because there is no relation between Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean basically. Negative IOD is usually associated with greater monsoon rainfall and more active easterly jet streams. Your basics must be strong here. Positive or negative IOD, which one favors Indian monsoon? Which one brings more rainfall to India? That must be clear. So I think 2 is wrong. Positive IOD occurs when the sea surface temperatures are more than normal in Arabian Sea and less than normal in the tropical Eastern Indian Ocean. This statement is right. Positive IOD results in increased rainfall along the coast of Africa. Right. So it looks something like this. Now, positive IOD, if this is the African coast and this is India, this is the East, this is Arabian Sea. Positive IOD would look something like this. Plus means warmer, minus means colder. That is how I remember it. The warmer region is present on the left side, that is on the coast of Africa, and from here, low pressure zone is formed and the water gets evaporated. This brings more moisture to India. So positive IOD brings more moisture to India. So statement 3 is obviously right. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statement with reference to Trojan. What is Trojan? We would have heard that something that is unusually present in our systems, like we have Trojan virus. It has no job to do in particular region, but it will be still present there. That is generally termed as Trojan. The name has its history from around the Roman Empire's time, but I think we don't need all those history lessons now. Now, these are asteroids that exist in the gravitationally stable region. What are gravitationally stable region? Do you think any region in our space would be stable? That is $1 million question, because recently we would have heard about these particular terms, L1, L2, L3. What are these? These are Lagrangian points, right? So when there is 2 huge objects present on the space, both of them would exert gravitational force upon each other. At a few points around these 2 massive objects, there will be certain regions there will be low effect of gravity, or both the object's gravity would be balanced out in a few regions. These regions are called as Lagrangian points, right? This is L1, this is L2, this is L3, and this is L4, and this is L5. When we talk about L1, L2, L3, these regions are not much stable. Of course, these are points where the gravitational forces of both the objects would balance each other, neutralize each other, but these are not stable. These are changing. But L4 and L5, these 2 regions are more stable. That's why when we talk about asteroids, the asteroids would be mostly get collected upon these regions. Talk about Jupiter, the asteroid belt, right? So these are generally present in the L4 and L5 Lagrangian regions. So the first statement is right. These are asteroids that exist in gravitationally stable region. The second one, this shares the object with planet and has the chance of collision with the planet. The chances are very less, because Trojan generally travel along with our planets. It shares the border. As I said before, it has no duty to be present in a particular region, but it will still be present. The orbit that Earth uses to travel around the sun, it should be used by the Earth alone. But what is the job of an asteroid to be present in the same orbit? That's why it is called as a Trojan asteroid, right? Now, this shares the orbit with planet and has the chance of collision with the planet? Definitely no, because it travels along with the planet in the same orbit around the sun. It doesn't collide with Earth, right? So statement 2 is wrong, only 1. Consider the following statement with reference to rapeseed mustard crop. The major contribution to domestic edible oil production comes from rapeseed mustard. Yes, they are grown as a rabi crop. Whenever you confront a particular crop, 2 things must be checked upon. One, whether it is a kharif crop or a rabi crop. Second, whether MSP is granted for it or not. Because MSP has been in news the past 1 year. There were farmer protests, and that is relevant in one way or the other, right? So it is definitely a rabi crop. India is the 3rd largest producer of these crops. Yes, it is a factual statement, not much important, but you may remember it. It does not grow in northeastern hill region. That's why it is in news. It was in fact, the cropping area was in fact expanded to a much larger level, including northeast India, right? So it is in fact grown in northeast India. Statement 4 is wrong. Statement 1, 2 and 3. All three are, only 3 are right. Now, in general, worldwide, most of the oil consumed is based on soybean or soya bean. I'm talking about the world status. Soybean, and the second one would be based on oil palm. In case of India, the most consumed oil or soybean, groundnut, and third is rapeseed mustard. How about domestic production? The dominator in domestic production, domestically produced oil, is rapeseed mustard. Second one is groundnut. Right. So please remember this order. Domestically produced oil content is dominated by rapeseed mustard, 45%. Second one is groundnut, 25%, and then soybean, 25%. So these are the geography questions that I wanted to discuss. Don't worry if all these questions are factual or not. Please view all these mock tests in a fashion that you are gaining information from it. I know that this is the last mock test. You would be expecting more about the marks. Fine. Because mock tests and the marks you wish are just some kind of metric that you evaluate yourself. But more than that, it is a learning. If there is any question that you're not knowing or something that you have never ever heard about, then use it as an opportunity to learn one more thing, right? So I hope all these questions would have added to your information, right? Fine. Thank you.
So hello all. So we'll be taking up for discussion the questions in economy. So question number 16, Central Electricity Regulatory Commission. So it's a statutory body established by a law of the parliament. Yes, of course, because CERC has been established through the 1998 Act. Okay, so this is correct. It regulates the tariff of all power generating companies owned or controlled by the central government. This is also correct. For example, the very reason why this Central Electricity Regulatory Commission was brought was to determine the tariffs. Right? It was to regulate the tariffs because India was liberalizing and there were chances of more and more private entities coming in distribution as well as transmission of electricity. So, adukkaga enna pandrom appdinu sonna, what are we to do with these kinds of new entities appdinu varappa, to regulate them. So, first primarily because power or electricity was mainly a monopoly of the government, we established this to determine the tariffs that were proposed by these central government entities. And also it will be applicable to state government entities also, for which we had a separate commission called as SERC. Okay, so SERC. Now, this statement is right. Now comes a question. In the SERC nala, private generating companies, will it be applicable to that? Can they regulate the tariffs of private generating companies? Of course. At what instance now? When such companies or distribution companies or transmission companies enter into an arrangement with the state for a distribution of electricity, then at that time, CERC is having powers to regulate their tariffs also. So, 1 is correct, 2 is correct. Regulates and determines tariffs for the interstate transmission of electricity. This is also correct. So, the answer will be 1, 2 and 3. See, understand here in this instance, I want to also emphasize on another body that is similar to this, but is called as Central Electricity Authority. Now, this authority is different from CERC. Okay, so this authority derives from Electricity Act of 2003. Okay, so last year also we had an amendment, Electricity Act of 2021. So kindly read into that provisions also. So Central Electricity Authority is an authority that is mainly entrusted with the duty of facilitating or increasing or looking into the mismatches of demand and supply. So, electricity sector as a whole, this electricity authority will be having an oversight over it. But when it comes to price determination and tariffs, it will be determined by CERC and SERC at the state levels. So, answer will be 1, 2 and 3. So, in the question paranga, question number 20, which among the above would lead to an improvement of India's sovereign credit rating? So, sovereign credit rating means the ratings that credit agencies provide to the debt profile of a government. For example, Government of India, what is the credit worthiness of Government of India? For example, there are many such sovereign credit rating agencies, but the most famous are S&P, Fitch, Moody's. In the mala neenga paakalam. For example, Moody's proposes to retain India in the investment grade of sovereign credit rating, BBB minus அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. AAA ratingலாம் கூட இருக்கு, the highest levels of rating. India வந்து historically investment grade, but it is comparatively lower than advanced countries. அந்த மாதிரி தான் நம்மளுக்கு வச்சிருக்காங்க. Okay, fine. So, in the rating, எந்த மாதிரி factorsலாம் can improve this rating? First, lower government debt to GDP ratio, of course. Right? One important factor, or the most important factor that can affect the credit worthiness of a country or a sovereign country is the government debt to GDP ratio. But understand, but this alone isn't the primary, or this alone cannot determine the credit rating. For example, India's debt to GDP ratio is significantly lower in comparison to Japan and USA, but they are having higher sovereign credit ratings. Rida. Sorry. Appreciating currency. So, this can lead to an improvement. Definitely, when it lowers, there are chances that it can improve. Second, appreciating currency. When will a currency appreciate? Right? This you have to see it in the domestic situation only. So, when our currency appreciate, it means that we are exporting more, we are having more stability, there is more dollars coming in or foreign currencies coming in. That only can lead to an appreciating currency. When there is an appreciating currency, then there are chances that we will not default. Understand? For example, what is the reason that recently in 2021, Sri Lanka ஒரு பெரிய sovereign credit ratingல ஒரு பெரிய அடி விழுது? அதுக்கான காரணம், they had a sovereign default. ஒரு கண்ட்ரியாலே இன்னொருத்தவங்களுக்கு ரீபே பண்ண முடியாத ஒரு சூழ்நிலை வருது. Fine. How do you overcome such situations? During appreciating currency, it means that more money is coming in, and therefore it leads to a stability. You have more money, and therefore credit default or sovereign default or a default to a foreign investor or a foreign country will be lesser, and therefore appreciating currency can also lead to an improvement. Per capita GDP, definitely. The more people are generating money, the better they are, the better they can give money to the government, but the government can have more taxation powers. That's why. So, 1, 2 and 3, the base of taxes will increase. 4, lower fiscal deficit. Adhimaga, so this and this is not significantly different. This is the total paakadhu, this 1 year ku paakadhu. And therefore, lower fiscal deficit na, that can also lower the or lead to an improvement. And therefore, if the correct answer should be all the 4 options, all 1, 2, 3 and 4 options will definitely lead to an improvement of sovereign credit rating. So, now comes this question. Look at this question. This question is, I think it is question number 21. Okay, so question number 21. So, only members of International Monetary Fund can become members of the World Bank Group? Yes. To become a member of the World Bank Group, you need to become a member of IMF. Only members of International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. This was the first agency of World Bank. World Bank oda first agency idha, right? IBRD treaty nu solluvaanga. IBRD agreement. So, adula da enna pannanga, IBRD la neenga member ah irukanuna first IMF la member ah irukanum. That is correct. If you become a member of the IBRD, slowly World Bank institutions started to expand. There are 5 institutions under the World Bank as of now. including IBRD, then we have IDA, we have IFC, we have ICSID, that is a Settlement Disputes Board, then we have MIGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So, these are the 5. So, these are all later ones. So, these 2 are primarily lending institutions. IDA is meant for developing countries. IFC is meant for private projects or private finance. You need to be a member of the IBRD if you need an association member with IDA and IFC. This is also correct. You can look it up in the website of the World Bank. So, both 1 and 2 are correct. So, question number 22, poverty lines estimation have been based on the consumption expenditure, not on the income levels. Definitely go with it. So, this has been the scenario from early time onwards, right? Right from Dandekar committee, Alag committee, right? Rangarajan committee or Tendulkar committee, all these committees have significantly given emphasis that poverty line can be established only on the basis of consumption. How this consumption is done? So, earlier it used to be calorie intake, now we have expanded it to be to more number items of consumption. So, as of Tendulkar, what we are using is per capita monthly per capita expenditure, consumption expenditure. This is the basis of determining the poverty line. So, there is no doubt in the first question, fine. It is, why do we do so? So, just when we have such statements, you have to put the word because here. So, poverty line estimation has been based on consumption levels and not on income levels because it is difficult to assess incomes of self-employed people, daily wage laborers, and there are large fluctuations in income due to the several seasonal factors. This is also a correct statement. So, standalone also this is correct. Why we are having on the consumption and not we are checking income level is because when we try to check income levels keep falling. Therefore, the right measure என்னவா இருக்கும்னு சொன்னா ஒரு மாசத்துக்கு ஒரு ஆளால எவ்வளவு செலவு பண்ண முடியும்னு மட்டும் தான் பார்க்கணுமே தவிர ஒரு மாசத்துக்கு எவ்வளவு இன்கம் வருதுன்னு நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா it is difficult to understand or assess or capture the income levels because of fluctuations and seasonality. And therefore, answer will be A. Question number 37. Female sex ratio has been higher in rural areas than in urban areas as per 2011 census. You may ask why the need for emphasizing on 2011 census. In the recent conclude on a CDS geoscientist, and in 2024 there have been some exams conducted by UPSC. Avangalla 2-3 questions they have been asking on 2011 census data. Okay. So, that is the data, that demographic data namalukku therinjirukonu. That is why we are testing it here. So, female sex ratio has been higher in rural areas. Yes. So, overall 943 was the ratio. 949 was for rural areas. 923 or something was for urban areas. Therefore, rural area is higher compared to urban areas in terms of female sex ratio. This is an actual fact. So, don't factual correctness into the now if you know the fact you can be right, or else if you logically think then we may have this kind of common sense. என்ன இருக்கும் ரூரல் ஏரியாஸ்ல தான் நிறைய அந்த ஃபீமேல் இதெல்லாம் ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ்லாம் இருக்குன்றனால ஃபீமேல் செக்ஸ் ரேஷியோ ரூரல் ஏரியாஸ்ல கம்மியா இருக்கும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி நீங்க திங்க் பண்ணுவீங்க. தட் இஸ் இன்கரெக்ட். ஓகே. ஸோ செகண்ட் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட் பாருங்க. ஈவன் தோ இஃப் யூ ஃபீல் லைக் தட் ஆல்சோ செகண்ட் ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்டை படிச்சு பார்த்தா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு லிங்க் கிடைக்கலாம். தேர் ஹாஸ் பீன் அன் இன்க்ரீசிங் ட்ரெண்ட் ஆஃப் மேல் மைக்ரேஷன் ஃப்ரம் ரூரல் டு அர்பன் ஏரியாஸ். எஸ். So this trend has been the case since the last 20 years. And perhaps this could be one of the reasons why statement 1 is right. With us, so 1 and 2, because in Pota, see this is not the only factor, but there are other factors also, but either ரெண்டையும் நீங்க செக் பண்ணீங்கன்னா கரெக்ட், and therefore A is the right answer. National Multidimensional Poverty Index, யார் இதை கொண்டு வர்றா? நீத்தி ஆயோக். Okay, so நீத்தி ஆயோக் கொண்டு வராங்க. It includes bank account as one of the indicators of poverty. So, deprivation levels check பண்ணுவாங்க. And 12 dimensions. There are 3 broad categories: health, education, standard of living. Okay, so these are the three broad categories for which global MPA as well as national MPA is calculated. But under this categories, the sub-parameters differ. For example, globally there are 10 parameters, but here in the Niti Aayog we have 12 parameters. What are the two new additions that we have made? Here we have maternal health. Maternal health we are also checking. In standard of living, we have also included bank account as one of the factors of or determinants of poverty. Okay, so 1 is correct. Headcount ratio helps in capturing the intensity of poverty. This is incorrect. Headcount ratio and put a poverty line and all those below it. It doesn't help you understand the intensity of poverty. Perhaps it tells you about the incidence of poverty. Right? So, incidence of poverty, okay. So, what is multidimensional poverty index now? Intensity of poverty into incidence of poverty. Both. So, with headcount ratio, you know how much people are poor. Then, through factors of deprivation, you will know what is the intensity. When you multiply that, that is what is called as multidimensional poverty index. So, this index helps us in understanding both the intensity as well as the incidence of poverty. This is a better way of understanding poverty across all states. So, look at this statement, all states. MPA levels have declined compared to 2015-16. Of course, this statement is correct. We may rarely have a case where some states will be having an increase in poverty. India is on a growing path. So, when India is having maybe inequalities vary but across states, multidimensional poverty index over a period of 5 years, 6 years has definitely declined. So, the answer will be 1 is correct, 3 is correct, only 2. China is the largest import partner of India. Is this fact right? Yes, this is right. In fact, for many years, see, understand there are 2 facts that you need to know. Trade partner. What is trade partner? Trade partner means both import and export. Right? When you calculate both import and export, USA was number 1 the last year and the previous year. Adukku munnadi yaar irundha? UAE. Right? So, before 2019, UAE was the top trade partner. Post 2021 to 2023, so 2022, USA for 2 years was the top trade partner. This year, just I think hardly 2 weeks ago, there was a news that China has now USA to become the largest trade partner of India. So, largest trade now, you need to compare both import and export. Now, China is high. Why is China high? Because it has reached a record levels of nearly 100 billions of exports. 100 billions of import we are doing from China. How much is the export that we are doing? Around $16-17 billion only. But if you look at USA, close to $77 billion we are exporting, and therefore USA is the largest export partner. But how much are we importing from USA? We are importing around 40 something, and therefore $34 nearly $1 billion we have a surplus. So, with UK we have a surplus, with other European countries also we have a surplus. Okay, so a recent trend is all that with Bangladesh also we have a surplus, and therefore USA is the largest trade exporter is right, China is the largest exporter is right, import partner is right. So, if you have a question like that, who is the largest trade partner of India? The changes in the fact is that since last 2 years it was USA, now it is China, right? So, India has the trade deficit with both USA is incorrect. So, the answer will be only 2. Project Mandala, Project Mariana and Project Nexus. So, this was in the news. You might have heard about this. This is related to cross-border payments. All these are projects that have emanated from the Bank of International Settlement, right? Basel in the bank. What they do, they are the banks who are responsible for this Basel norms and all. So, this Bank for International Settlement, ivanga enna pandrangana, matta countries sollam, for example, Singapore, Mariana and Singapore, UK, and some other European countries oda சேர்ந்து, France எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து, they have been piloting a cross-border payments of CBDCs, right? Central bank digital currencies. Okay, so the answer will be cross-border payments. Which of the following is not correct with respect to national pension scheme? The new pension scheme was later rechristened as national pension scheme. So, first, it is mandatory for all central government employees joining. Yes, of course, it is mandatory for all. Then it is optional for state government employees. Then it is voluntary for all the others also. So, earlier it was only for government employees, but now it has been opened up to corporate and individuals also. So, NPS is regulated by the PFRDA. Yes, this is correct. So, we have a separate fund called as the National Pension Trust. Okay, so this trust is regulated by the PFRDA. The investment that you make into the, for example, contributions should be done. For example, 10% of your pay you need to contribute. If you are a central government employee, you will be contributing to this national pension scheme. The government also will be matching an equal contribution of 10% in the after 2019 and the time la enna pannanga konjam increase panni 14% varakum the government was contributing. Okay, so this investments that you make, the income that you generate through that investments, and the maturity amount. For example, at the age of 60 or 70, when you withdraw it, at that time, NPS are exempted from tax. All this investment gains and the lump sum money, are they exempted from tax? Yes. This is called as an exempt category. Certain funds can be categorized like this. EEE funds in Silvanga. This is also an example of EE fund. So, what is incorrect here? You have to identify what is not correct. NPS is open to employees from the organized sector, but not to unorganized sector. This is incorrect. Of course, we have another scheme exclusively for unorganized sectors. That is called as Atal Pension Scheme. But understand, NPS is not exclusively for organized sector. Okay, so this is incorrect. Balance of payment records all the transactions of services, goods and assets between residents of a country with the rest of the world. Definitely, it's a summary record of all transactions, which helps us understand the transaction in terms of transfer of goods and services, as well as transfers of financial capital from one place to the other. Okay. When the overall balance of payment remains positive, overall balance of payment means you have to check current account and capital account. Okay. For example, usually current account will be having a deficit. Let's say we have a deficit of $1 billion. In capital account, mostly we will be having higher inflows compared to outflows. And if you look at the net balance, it will be having higher. Let's say you have 2 billion. You take the total balance, what you have, balance of payment will be surplus plus $1 billion. Where will this $1 billion go? We have excess of $1 billion into the economy. That will be slowly aggregated or absorbed by the RBI, which will lead to an expansion of forex reserve. Therefore, that is also correct. So, the answer will be 1 and 2. What can cause depreciation? Understand, depreciation can be caused. எப்போ வந்து ஒரு பணம் depreciation என்ன, ஒரு டாலர்ன்றது இன்னைக்கு 82 ரூபா அப்படின்னு சொன்னா 90 ரூபாயா மாறதுக்கு பேர் தான் depreciation. Okay, when it becomes 90, it is called as depreciation. When will it happen? Let's say interest rate is hiked by the US Fed Bank. Definitely what will happen at that time is that there will be a flight of capital. Flight of capital na, அங்க நிறைய இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ரேட் கொடுக்குறாங்கன்னா இங்க இருக்கக்கூடிய பணம் எல்லாம் வெளிநாட்டுக்கு போகும். And therefore, this will lead to a demand for dollars as well as supply of dollars will come down. Definitely it can lead to depreciation. Fine, so 1 should be there. So remove this. Internationalization of rupee. Let's say what ways, there could be many ways that we are trying to internationalize rupee. Let's say we have come to a reality, nalla internationalize ஆகி நிறைய இடங்கள்ல இந்தியன் ரூபி இருக்கு. What will happen? See, internationalization of rupee can sometimes increase the volatility also. ஏதாவது ஒரு டைம்ல ஏதாவது ஒரு global crisis நடக்குதுன்னா that can affect Indian rupee also. Okay, so internationalization may indirectly induce appreciation or depreciation. We don't know what is going to be there. Just because you internationalize doesn't mean that we are going to depreciate. Okay, so there is no direct link between internationalization and depreciation. Most possibly we are trying to internationalize it because it can lead to appreciation of currency. Okay, so this is incorrect. So 2 will not be there. Relatively high inflation in foreign countries. When, see, relatively high inflation, I'm not saying too much of excess inflation means that is bad. Let's say relatively high inflation always induces investors to go and seek abroad countries, because when you go to other countries, perhaps you may have higher margin, higher profits. Therefore, this can also induce the capital to move outside of. When there is high GDP growth rate, then foreign countries money will come in. உள்ள வரும் பணம் எல்லாம். அப்போ உள்ள வர்றப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? Appreciate தான் ஆகும். Therefore 4 will also not be possible. The answer will be 1 and 3. Okay, so price stabilization fund. So recently in the month of April, the government also felt that we can include rice and wheat into the price stabilization fund. So price stabilization fund was mainly brought because we do not have a particular mechanism where horticultural products will be having a stable price. Okay, horticultural product, for example, tomato at one time will be 10 rupee, and another season it will be 80 rupee also. So wild fluctuations can be there. Why? Because there is no MSP for it, no stability for its prices. So what can we do for it? So for that only in 2015 the government came out with a price stabilization fund. A fund will be maintained out of the government's budget. That fund will be utilized to see to it that the supply of a particular horticultural product or the demand of a particular product, if it is going in either ways, can be regulated to some extent. Seriya? So on the basis la, to what is the objective of this scheme, of this fund na? Direct purchase from farmers, yes. For example, NAFED, இவங்கெல்லாம் டைரக்டா பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க. To maintain a strategic buffer to discourage hoarding. ஆமா, ஒரு buffer stock மாதிரி வச்சு hold பண்ணலாம். For example, onions will be held. Tomatoes also were held recently. Okay, fine. So to protect consumers by supplying such commodities, yes. So one of the other aims is that not only to protect the interest of the farmers, to also protect the interest of the consumers also. So all these three are primarily the objectives of price stabilization fund. What are the outcomes of sachetization of financial products? Okay, so this word was seen in the context of the SEBI chairman saying that we need to have sachetization of products. Sachetization, and you have 1 rupee sachets for shampoos, isn't it? So what does it do? It enables all the financial products to be sold at a very, cheap rate, isn't it? So if, let's say, if we don't have such sachets, then shampoo bottles will be out of reach for many poor households, right? You are able to sell that product at a very cheap rate. Similar to that, financial products, when we have tried to decrease the volume or the minimum amount for which you can purchase a product, when it is reduced, that is called as sachetization. So when you do so, for an example, we are trying to sachetize mutual funds. The least amount that you can, let's say, purchase a security will be 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 like that. Now if you are bringing it to 100 rupees, 200 rupee itself you can deposit now. That is called as sachetization. What will it do? It will enhance financial inclusion, definitely. Better social security cover. How will it do? If you have mutual funds, if you have invested in other kinds of insurance products, such kinds of financial services will give you better social security cover, definitely. Higher financial savings, yes. You may have the incentive to save. Decline in financial inequality, yes. Today, if you look at people, the upper middle class and are the ones who are above the upper middle class, they are the ones who are primarily saving in financial products. The others are not doing. So this can also help. So the answer will be all 4. In India, non-banking financial companies are net borrowers from bank. NBFC, for their funds, they depend upon banks. Okay. If you look at a global scenario, there was a paper in the RBI recently about the annual report on the banking system. When I was going through the document, this was a trend. What the trend? Globally, if you see, NBFCs or non-banking institutions are primarily net lenders to bank, it seems. Net lenders. But India is one of the few countries where NBFCs are borrowers, because we have several regulations where they cannot have so much of deposits from banks, from customers. They have to depend on banks. Okay. For all their funds, they borrow from banks. They borrow by selling commercial papers, debentures. This is how they manage their funds. Okay. So, one is correct. NBFCs are not eligible to take deposits directly from public. This is incorrect. Of course, as a class, if you see, NBFCs cannot. சரியா? ஆனா என்ன பண்றோம்? NBFCs ரெண்டு விதங்கள்ல பிரிக்கலாம். There are two types of NBFC: deposit taking, non-deposit taking. புரியுங்களா? Therefore, when we have such a category, it means that NBFCs are eligible to take deposits. But what type of deposits they cannot take? Demand deposits, they may not. It is prohibited for them. Therefore, 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect. C is the option. What is true about a market economy? Right? Market economy. With large enough computers, central planners could guide production more efficiently. This kind of centralized planning is not a feature of market. Strength of a market system is that it tends to distribute resources. This is also incorrect. Right? One of the biggest drawbacks of a market economy is that it tends to increase inequality. Taxes, see, this statement is correct, but is this statement applicable to a market economy? No. Even though taxes can help in communication of prices, that shouldn't be one of the resort that the government should opt to. The government should allow other factors to determine the price, not taxes. Therefore, what is answer? B is the answer. This is called as the invisible hand theory of Adam Smith. Self-interested action. எல்லாரும் அவங்க self-interestக்காக எதா பண்ணா, that will coordinate all to receive benefits. So 86, FSSI-ல எந்த label mandatory? 1, 2, 4. This is not mandatory. This is voluntary. Okay, so the answer will be only 3. Allergic reactions, doctor or a recommendation, medicinal practitioner can give an allergic advice. That is just voluntary, not mandatory. A monopoly can continue to generate economic profits because, why is a monopoly doing that? Because there are barriers to the entry. This will be the most appropriate. All these things could be right, but they may not also be. So if you look at one condition of monopoly, A is the right option. 96. See, this question is interesting. It was asked in CDS 2024. Which of the following, let's say if India enters into FTA with other nations, the exports will be dependent on which of the following factors? So this particular thing was given in last year's economic survey. In the last year's economic survey, they have spoken about how India has entered into FTAs with many countries and how several factors are leading or let's say influencing the exports. They've just given a list of it, which I have attached in the PDF also. Just go through it. All these are. Tariff reduction, definitely it is going to influence exports. Rules of origin. If we relax the rules of origin, definitely exports can increase. Relaxation in phytosanitary measures. This is one of the reasons why we are not able to export more to Europe, because it's very stringent there. This relaxation can also. Infrastructure is one of the most important determinants of export competitiveness. Income levels of a nation. When you have a FTA with a poor country, then it is likely that the FTA will not be so efficient. And so that is also, the answer will be all 5. So with this, we are concluding the questions of economy. So do not be worried if you have gone wrong in many of the questions. Definitely, there is still time. Go through the questions, read as much as possible, utilize the remaining days. Do not take the marks that you get in your marks very personal. Okay, so the mock test that is conducted here, the marks that you get, and the marks that you are going to get in the final exam, they are completely different things. Okay, so these two are totally different. We are trying to induce you to that environment so that you may feel where you are lacking. Okay. So, just go with a level head, be cool, be composed, right, and take care of your health and keep studying till the exam.